Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Big day for the Browns in free agency yesterday. They didn't hit the home run, but I think they got a lot of doubles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is that fair?
That's fair.
Yeah,
Is that fair?
They put the ball in play.
They definitely put the ball in play.
Yeah.
And they've got more at-bats to go. I think more moves are going to be made today. We'll grade all the moves from yesterday.
Can we say how people embarrass themselves on Twitter?
Go ahead, yes.
I mean, folks, listen, I understand the Browns deserve very little benefit of the doubt. They have effed up most things in their history.
Yes.
However, like 2 hours into free agency, Bill, they haven't done anything. What have they done? They haven't done anything.
Well, that wasn't wrong.
I know that, but it's like 2 hours.
Yeah, you got to be patient.
When people were screaming that they hadn't done anything, not one wide receiver had been off the board.
There's only, I think, one off
only
the board.
one. Javon Hargrave at the time was the only defensive tackle off the board.
Yeah.
And everybody was going ape, you know
So
what.
I'll tell you what that's a product of. It's a product of our disappointment yesterday at 1 o'clock.
Yep. Sure, at 12. Yeah, it's between 12 and 1.
Well, really
yes.
at 1, though, because we had a full hour run-up, and we said at 11 o'clock, bad job on me, I said it's going to be the most frenetic hour in UCSS history.
Right.
We all thought it would be, because in years past, noon comes,
right.
boom.
Yeah.
There's just splashes of news everywhere. And yesterday it was oddly like crickets.
It's like when somebody tell you, hey, kids, don't look at the sky. There's an eclipse. If you stare at an eclipse, you will go blind. Not only did you not see the eclipse, you're like, bro, this is regular. I look at the stars all the time. Where's this eclipse?
There was nothing.
Like, there was
no
nothing.
eclipse.
There was
And
nothing.
in part, so I think Twitter's overreaction was in part because we've conditioned them that this is going to be nuts. And I can't remember who said it at the draft. You might remember. One of the Browns front office people said that through the years, what they've learned is free agency is a marathon, not a sprint. And everybody always tends to think it's who gets out of the gate first. It's not. So
well, Austin Hooper they signed right away, and how'd that work out?
Yeah,
horribly.
Well, they still signed 2 guys on the first day.
Yeah, I know.
They did.
But that's
and John
part of the
Johnson was a quick signing.
that was the other guy.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I'm reserving judgment at this point. It's like we've gotten excited before about these guys in the past, and they've been total flops.
By the way, shout out to you, Jason, man. You and your hooded shirts. You have thousands of them.
I do. I like
You're
them.
sponsored by. Are your wife showing those hoods on everything, or is it just did that come with the shirts? Because I'm like, dang, I need some of them hoods, bro.
I do like.
He lives in Cleveland. It could rain or snow in any second.
Let me tell you, there's no snow in the Bahamas. I got off the plane last night, looked around, and went, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I said the same thing when I got
Awful.
back from Phoenix. I just said before the show started, February is been moved to March because we had March already in February.
Right.
It was one of the warmest Februarys on record. Now we're paying the piper for it.
I always laugh when people say spring starts in March because technically it does, but anybody that's lived in Cleveland for more than 8 seconds knows spring does not start in March.
Spring starts about May 13th.
You hope it gets
That's
here
it.
by May.
I
Really,
always
you
say
do.
my son's birthday is May 19th. I said that's when spring starts.
Basically.
We
My
get spring
birthday's
for
the
like
8th.
3
If
weeks
it is
and then
not
it's
warm
summer.
on my birthday, I will riot.
On May 8th.
Well, I don't blame you.
You got 50-50.
Yeah,
odds.
Bulls bet. How'd you do yesterday?
You
played a long term.
I
He took
played
a
a long
future.
term. Well,
Yep,
we'll know
that's
by
right.
the end of this. We'll know Friday or
By Friday.
By
So
Friday,
it's
Saturday.
still 8-9.
8 and 9.
Yeah.
We
What's
went
your
back.
bet
We
today?
double checked the
Oh, you
records.
gotta
He
read.
is 8 and 9.
Okay.
Well, you
All
had
right,
a
I'm
4-game
8-9.
losing streak.
That's
It's okay.
smart when you're in a slump. Just make a bet for like 6 months out.
Right.
And,
No,
give,
it's
and
just
give
the end
yourself
of
a
the
breather.
week. I bet that a
Stop the
13
bleeding.
seed. I bet that a 13 seed would beat a 4 seed in the first round.
Yeah, we'll know that one
So
by
we'll know
Thursday.
Today's bet, though, Bull, is
Yeah.
brought to us by Bet Rivers. It's a today bet,
is.
so you can bet on this using the Bet Rivers online sportsbook because that is the place to be for every single game. Now is the perfect time to join Bet Rivers Sportsbook. When you use deposit code SPORTS, you receive a second chance bet up to $500. Get in on all the action with weekly specials on your favorite sports like basketball and hockey. To help you win big, check out BetRivers.com or download the Bet Rivers app today for the latest lines, odds, and boosts.
So you going with?
The local podcast is out from yesterday. We're doing a national one tomorrow. Today's bet, I'm going against the Cavaliers. I've had bad luck betting on the Cavs. I'm going against the Cavs today. The game's in Charlotte. the Hornets are getting 7.5 points. They've covered against the Cavs 7 of the last 8 times. So I think, it's a toss-up game, I think. Because the Cavs are very good on the road.
You're mostly playing history with this, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think it'll be a close game. I think the Cavs will pull out a close game.
All right, very good. They need one. Speaking of the Cavs, later in the show, we're going to talk Cavaliers. We're really into the stretch run now. We're starting to look at playoff seedings.
12 games left?
More. Yeah, and this is...
They have to go 7-5, I think, to win 50 games, right? Don't they have 43 wins?
43, so you're right.
Yeah, 7-5.
Kaylee Griffin of Bally Sports. She's the host of the pregame and postgame show for the Cavaliers, will be with us, and she's going to talk about the Cavs and their stretch run and what they have to do to try to position themselves well for the playoffs. I think we'll start by the welcome to Cleveland. Yeah. And I think the big news is Dalvin Tomlinson. You
just don't want to say the other guy's name.
Obo Okoronkwo. Here's the deal.
Nailed it.
But now I will say, because I asked
veteran TV guy.
I asked around last night because I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Some say Okoronkwo.
Yeah.
Because they say that's how he says it. But
that's what we saw on YouTube last night. Jason said I was wrong.
No,
that's exactly what we saw on YouTube.
That's not what you said on the call.
That's what I tried to say on the call.
Well, that's not what you said.
That's what I tried to say.
Yeah. I've already came up with a nickname for you. You will be known by the barbershop community as Young OG. That's fire.
I like it.
Wow. Okay.
That is fire.
Yeah, he definitely will embrace that.
I heard Joe Buck call him Okoronkwo. That's why I went with. If Joe said it, it's got to be true.
Yeah, Joe knows. Joe does his research, but it is Obo. Is how you. That's the shortened version of his first name.
Right.
I'm glad he goes by Obo.
Obo.
Because it gets really tricky with that. But you can go Okoronkwo or Okoronkwo.
Okay. Couldn't we just
either one is correct?
Couldn't we just do Obo like people say Giannis? They don't say his last name all the time.
Well, we got JOK.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's got to be. You said it on the call this morning. There has to be a nickname.
Yes.
But it has to happen organically. Obo Oko. I don't know. We'll come up with something.
This Okoro better be better than the other Okoro in Cleveland.
Yeah, let's hope so.
He might be able to hit a corner 3.
Hey, you never know. So we welcome you to Cleveland, Dalvin. And so he signs a 4-year, $57.5 million or $57 million deal. 27.5 of that is guaranteed. That's a high dollar for that premium position. You're expecting to get a plus starter at that position.
Did you guys think that that would be the first position off the board? Because we talked a lot about the needs. Edge rusher was down probably below free safety. Were you surprised they got an edge rusher, the first guy they really reached out to and signed?
I guess not. I mean, they signed those two guys within a couple of hours of each other. So, and when we were doing, Jay, you weren't here, but on Friday we picked our perfect offseason for the Browns.
Yeah.
And I said on my perfect offseason that they would sign 3 veteran defensive linemen.
And they likely will. They're not done.
And 2 tackles. No. And I think they will. I think that's why they didn't go to the nth degree on Hargraves, because they're like, we have all these holes. We have 1 starter on the line. And I said, and now they've got, they're going to have 3 new starters, because I think they're going to sign another defensive tackle, spending less money. But, listen, as Jason said, we've been excited about other free agent moves before. But I think these guys on paper, and this guy especially has some upside. He's a younger player.
Didn't he catch fire the second half of last season?
He did. He had a sack against the Browns. And that
he did, yeah.
He had been, before that, he was with, who was he with before Houston last year?
The Rams.
Right.
He won a Super Bowl with the Rams.
He had played outside linebacker in their 4-3, and then he moved to defensive end in a 3-4. And he was pretty good. I mean, I think there's a lot of upside, and I think they've, at least on paper, they've gotten a lot better on the D-line.
I saw this. I'm glad you pulled this, because I did see this one. This was the one that really, if you want to see like how the rubber hits the road here, and how this will impact the Browns, this is impressive. With Myles Garrett now and Obo, they've got 2 of the top 5 pressure rate guys from last year.
Right.
He caught fire in the second half of the season, guys. And it's almost like, Jason, they'll talk at that position in particular how the light goes off. It was almost like you could see the light went off last year around week 6 or 7 for him. And after that, he really blossomed into a serious impact player. I think they're getting a pretty good player here.
Yeah, we've talked at length about how it takes defensive linemen a couple of years to sort of figure out. My concern is he doesn't have a long track record of a high rate of success.
Right.
So you're betting big on a small sample size of I mean, you're saying it right there. He caught fire week 6 or 7. Okay, well, that's a really small sample size that you're betting big on. They can't be done because they're one injury away from Perion Winfrey and Jordan Elliott being your starting defensive tackles again. So, yes, they've got Tomlinson. He's a massive body. He's probably the biggest tackle they've had under this regime, I'm guessing. I haven't looked that up, but I think Tomlinson's like 325.
I think you're right.
I can't imagine them having a bigger one.
Ogunjobi's still out there.
That's the guy I
And
want.
I want him too.
Yeah,
I mean,
bring him back.
It's funny. He's kind of touring the AFC North. He went from the Browns to the Bengals to the Steelers.
Yeah.
He's still out there. I expected he would be a day 2 guy anyhow. But you mentioned that you need 3 pieces there because you were so weak last year.
Right.
If they can bring him back into the fold, guys,
they never should have let him go.
I
was
agree
annoyed
with you.
when they let him go.
I agree with you. I hated that we let him walk.
He had one bad year, and they got rid of him.
If they bring him back, with Jim Schwartz now scheming that wide 9 or whatever he's going to do up front, guys, I think our defensive line went from the Achilles heel to a potential strength.
I mean,
we got to see it on the field.
And McNuggets,
Sure, we do, but
there was a play that this dude made. Can you get? I don't know if you can get it on tag board. It's on Twitter.
Is that on Twitter? Send it to him.
It's on Twitter. You want me?
DM it to me on Twitter.
All right, it's
To me and Anthony.
Yeah, this is crazy.
I don't think that there's no move the Browns could have made yesterday or today that you throw your hands up and say, that's it, they solved all their problems.
No,
There are
not.
so many holes that they weren't going to win the day in free agency.
Were you disappointed, though, that Jones got away?
Yeah, I guess a little bit.
I was disappointed to see they couldn't close the deal with him.
A little bit. What was the money difference between Jones
It was
and
51
Tomlinson?
$3 million, roughly
Yeah.
$3 million a year.
Which to
But
me,
Jones is not as good. Is not a run stopper.
And that I don't
no,
know.
he's not. But if you're going to address the pass rushing needs and the run stop needs, which they clearly are, then you can go out and find someone else to still help fill that role. But you're getting
what they may do with the second defensive tackle is get a more athletic guy who they think could be a pass rusher, and spend the same money that they might have spent on Draymond.
$3 million tells me they didn't love him, because if they love him, you're gonna close that gap.
Who's is it Jim Schwartz who's looking at the tape of these guys and saying, I can use him in what I do. He doesn't fit what I do.
Yeah,
right?
I think he's got a pretty loud
driving
voice.
the bus on
I think
this.
he's got a pretty loud voice in who's coming.
Yeah.
And who's not.
And that's the value of having an experienced guy.
Well, why would you hire a guy with that much experience and then not have him be a big factor in the decision making on anybody you're bringing in on
great
defense?
point.
How many times have we said he's the head coach of the defense?
Right.
And I think Kevin wants it that way.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I think Kevin's going to give Jim a lot of say in who they have personnel-wise.
Absolutely.
On that side of the field.
So if we grade just those, I'll throw in the re-signings too, because obviously we gave the welcome to Cleveland, welcome back to Cleveland for Ethan Pocic, which for me was a surprise. I didn't think that they were going to go that way. It tells me
we talked about that when you were gone.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
You're not.
I thought when I came back from the combine, I felt like we had overinflated his value a little bit.
Yeah, this idea he was going to get a ton of money
because of I said on the show the injury history that he's had, and he was hurt again last year. And the Callahan thing almost worked against him.
Right.
You know, I was told basically teams are going to look at that and say, well, he was with Bill Callahan. So
Yeah.
how much is that? He almost gets docked points for that.
Because he hadn't done anything. He'd been a bust in Seattle.
Yeah.
He'd had a ton of injuries.
Yes.
And so I think that's what suppressed his market a little bit.
Also, the fact that they went this way, to me, said they either don't love Harris as much as they told us they did, or he's not going to be ready.
I don't think it's that. I think it's that Ethan was one of the best centers in the league last year when he was healthy, and I think in the number that they brought him back at, it was very manageable.
I was surprised how low it was.
And you need depth across the offensive line. We've seen that with injuries. I do feel bad for Nick Harris. Like, he had the starting job in front of him, and it lasted one play.
Is
yeah,
it possible?
You're right. One play, literally.
Listen, the Browns are now they were already spending a ton of money on their offensive line. Now they're spending even more on their offensive line. I don't think it's crazy that they could move on from Wyatt Teller. I'm not saying necessarily right now, maybe at the end of this year.
I thought maybe they would trade Harris.
And maybe Harris will play guard. I don't know that Harris has any value.
I don't think Harris is a guard in the NFL. No. I don't think. I had people tell me he's too small.
Well, here's a guy that was too small trying to block this dude. McNuggets has that clip. And I'm going to tell you what, look at this right here. See, you didn't get this from Clowney last year. When last time you see Clowney, get up off me. Come here. This is what I like to see. That's nastiness. And you know what? Hey, how many times have we said, hey, man, we need somebody to play that aggressive on the other side of Myles Garrett? See, now you really can't run like that. I love the fact that his PFF pass rush grade is an 81. Now, you look at what he's bringing to the table, and we have a little bit of tape from Tomlinson being nasty.
He's not a big guy.
No, he's speed and agility.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to bull rush people and overpower them, but with his speed and agility, he'll get by guys.
Now, if you put these two guys together, look at this move. Look at guard, get up off me.
Wow.
Did we see any of that last year? That's not a Tommy Togi.
I have one question for you guys though. I looked up his run defense grade, and it was only 63.8
For his career?
last year.
No, I thought it was better than that last year.
No, his run grade was down last year. His pass rush grade from PFF was way up, but historically, Tomlinson has been very good against the run.
Right, but last year it took a pretty big drop, and I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe their scheme had him concentrating more on pass rush.
The Vikings as a team were horrendous against the run. As an entire team, which brought almost everybody on that unit side of the grade on that side of the ball down significantly, because as a collective unit, they were horrendous.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. 63.8 isn't stellar.
No, but
it is better than what they had.
Better than them 30s. I had guys, that's crazy.
They just doubled it.
They just got 2 times as good.
Well, yeah, the guys that they had up front last year, I mean, you had said there were certain metrics that put them actually one of the worst run
in
defenses
the history of
ever.
the stats.
Ever.
Yeah.
Forever?
And that's what yesterday
Right?
yesterday was about covering their mistakes in the draft.
Yeah.
With all the defensive tackles that they've taken. I've said on the show a number of times, it's not that they've ignored the defensive tackle spot. No. They've taken more linemen than any other position.
They've just been horrible at it.
Yeah. They just haven't been able to identify and develop the right guys. So yesterday, it was really them throwing their hands up and saying, okay,
we can't find them.
Let's go buy one.
Well, was it Cleve TA that somebody tweeted yesterday that I think it was Obo, that his numbers lined up with AB, what AB looks for in that position. Right. And I thought, well, that might be a kiss.
It was
of
Cleve TA, and he had, and first off, boy, I know it's your guy, Cleve.
Yeah.
Awesome. If you guys don't follow his stuff,
he is. He's incredible.
Awesome. He identified him months ago as a guy in free agency, the Browns, that he thought Barry would fall in love with because the measurables,
he nailed it.
The RAS score, the pass rush win rate,
here's my
fit
problem
exactly
with
what Barry liked.
But here's my problem with that. If you look at the guys that Barry has liked in the past, they've been busts. They haven't been good. No. So I don't know what metric he's using to determine who gets a star next to their name and who doesn't.
Well, I liked Tat McKinley. Unfortunately, he blew his Achilles heel out, right? Jadeveon Clowney, not last year, but the year before, was very solid. I think he's missed more on guys that come out of college rather than guys that.
Well, they signed. Taven was a free agent signing last year.
Yeah,
that wasn't. Yeah,
that was.
But I'll tell you,
swing and miss.
They got more out of Malik McDowell than I thought they would.
No, that's true.
Until he, had a lot of issues, personal issues.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm trying to be sensitive because
I decided to go publicly naked.
And Malik Jackson, they actually was a decent signing for 1 year.
Yeah.
He was hurt all year.
Right.
I've had a number of people tell me he basically played on one leg the entire year.
So let's give out letter grades.
Yeah.
For the 4 guys, really. I count Pocic, and I didn't mention Takitaki also re-signing with the Browns. So on those 4 moves,
I give it a B+.
Okay.
B to B minus.
Yeah.
B. I'm gonna go B. I'm gonna go B minus. But if they get another D tackle, and make everything look a lot better.
See, it's funny you said that. I'm at a B minus, but with an incomplete in parentheses next to it.
Yeah, I mean,
because they're going to do more. But what they've done so far, though, like I said at the top of the show, it wasn't a home run. They got a couple doubles in there for sure, and you can win by stacking up doubles.
Their most important free agent signing last year, I would argue, was Ethan Pocic, and they got him at the end of March.
Right.
That's very true.
So we got a long.
And by the way, that was I remember the day we were on. We talked about him when we did our game.
He was our first true or
false. He was our very first true or false. And I remember thinking about this guy like this. He's to what your point, he's a jag.
Yeah, right.
He's just a guy. I didn't, and he ended up, like you said, being
really
the star of the class.
And historically, if you look at what the Browns have done under this regime, they've done much better on the margins than they have in the big dollar deals.
You're right.
They've done better on 1 year deals, incentive-laden deals with guys than they have when they hand out Austin Hooper, John Johnson type contracts.
So far.
So we'll see.
Hooper was just
one of
the biggest head scratchers
I thought it was going to be a good move at the time. I thought
his numbers were great.
And Kevin, we knew Kevin loved tight ends in his offense. It made a lot of sense. The Conklin move, I guess you could call that a hit or a home run. I don't know because
I don't know
back.
about home run, but
It filled
been a
need.
When he's been healthy, he's been fine.
And I know what they're going for on the offensive line. The worst thing you want to do is go into a season where you got to find somebody to play. You don't know if Nick Harris is going to be back there doing anything. He's coming off injury. Conklin, you gave him the contract, but at least he knows the system. He knows the offense. And they have some sort of continuity. So they can go after some other pieces and don't worry about the offensive line. Because I think they'll not worry about certain positions. And I think that's an added bonus because, I mean, you got to win games.
And we talked a lot this year about how the Browns have a bunch of – it was like a studs and duds roster. And they don't have enough good second and third tier players. Well, that's what they've added. I mean, these two guys are second
not
players.
Superstars, but very
they're
solid.
Good. They're starting players. Like the Browns have two – the Browns had too many guys in their front seven that were not starting caliber players.
Right.
They've added two guys. Now, how good they're going to be, we don't know, but they're starting caliber players.
And I tried to look real quick this morning. Obviously, I haven't spent a ton of time on this, but they're the only team. I think the Niners may have signed 2 defensive linemen. I think the Texans signed 2 nobodies. But the Browns, from what I saw,
Chase Winovich.
Yeah, well, the Browns are the only team that have invested 2 high-dollar contracts across the defensive line.
Yeah, well, they're the ones that needed it.
They were the ones that needed it. Atlanta. I think Atlanta actually
Atlanta
did.
signed 9
Atlanta
guys.
also did.
Yeah,
Atlanta has
not the
a
Niners.
ton of money.
I think it was Atlanta, not the Niners.
Yeah.
Mikey, when you talk, and we'll probably get to this, about like contracts you love, contracts you hated.
Yeah.
I actually thought that Jesse Bates was one that I would
Too
not
much.
spend way too much
I
money
thought
on
so
a
too.
safety.
I was glad the Browns didn't go that high.
But we knew it was going to be that much
But,
money.
well, it was even more than I thought.
I think it was more than everyone thought.
And it's front loaded.
$16 million a year.
Isn't half of that guaranteed or a little more than half?
Yeah,
It was 30.75.
Okay.
I think he's getting 23 this year. The deal's front loaded. The Browns seem to backload their contracts. Atlanta front loaded
He's
it.
a very good player, but I wouldn't pay him that much.
That's a ton of money.
And we said it when the Browns let go of JJ3 and all these Bates rumors surfaced, and I just didn't understand it. Like, you just had a high-dollar safety. Why would you go and invest even more in another one?
I think the Browns go to the bargain bin for a safety.
Go in the 4th round.
Yeah.
Draft a safety in the 4th round.
Or whatever. You could sign one of these veterans who's a startable player for $2-3 million.
You could play DeAnthony Bell if you really wanted to get cute. You know, if you want, they got a couple dudes, and they could draft somebody like you say. Safeties never get you. You got to be.
I still would like to see the Browns, you know, in the somewhere between the $7 and $4 million mark, add another defensive tackle and a linebacker at a reasonable price. But
we'll talk about cap
but the
space
wide
in a
receiver
second.
is still the biggest.
It is, yeah.
Need they got
And I think that's where the draft comes in. You know, I've thought all along they're going to take a receiver with their first pick, whether it's in the 2nd round
but
or
it's
they
not
trade.
supposed to be a deep wide receiver draft.
I think you can find a lot of talent in the 2nd round.
I hope so.
I
hope
believe
so.
it's
McNuggets
coming
has a
by
ring,
one
and then I got a
receiver.
question for you guys about the cap.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We'll talk cap in one sec, but first, we just want to remind you guys that BetJack is the official sportsbook of the great state of Ohio. Sports betting is now live. Download the BetJack app today so you can get ready to get in on all the action. BetJack, it is Ohio's sportsbook.
Where are they on the cap? After yesterday's moves,
I did the math.
You got it.
What do you have? Because we
So
were
it's a
guessing
rough-
it was anywhere between 30 and if they restructure some deals, 50 in space.
So they haven't got to those deals yet. They've only officially restructured Watson, and with the JJ3 cut, it gave them about between 22, 25-ish million.
Right.
You add the $14 million for Tomlinson,
Yep.
the $6 million guaranteed for Obo, and then the Pocic re-signing at about $6 million. That's
So they're
about the space they have
Yeah.
open already, but they
Yeah.
can open another 25 to 30-ish, depending on the restructures to Teller, Cooper, Chubb, or elsewhere.
Also, do we know what because these deals aren't done yet, are they? Like, do we know signing bonus versus base pay?
No,
I was just going off the guarantee divided by the year of the contract. So that
yeah, but
that's
that can be risky
fluctuating.
because that's not how the deal is done.
Right. We all know how much heat they caught last year for the way they structured the Deshaun deal.
Exactly. So we've got to wait until
Although
we
teams
get,
do that all the time.
We have
Oh,
to
they-
wait
yeah.
until we see exactly what the hits will be for the first year.
Right.
To know exactly where they are. But I mean, if you do that round figuring math,
I was giving a rough estimate.
No, and that's all we can do right now. But I was the same place. I'm like, I think we're snuff. I think we're right around the cap. Those restructuring deals are key. because that would be how they add a wide receiver if they go that route, even though they might decide to go the draft that way, a safety, or one more piece on the line, or they may be done. I don't know.
I love the fact that we do have our analytics wizards in there now. You say what you want about them picking players. Oh, but they know all the black magic about the cap. They get cap space like no other team does.
It feels like every 5 minutes there's another player on another team getting a restructured deal. I feel like there's been more restructured deals this year than we've ever seen before.
Well,
every team's doing it.
Haven't teams figured out that's the cheat code, Jason?
Yeah, right.
There have been a lot.
Yeah.
And I wonder if I don't know. Like, is the NFL going to restructure its cap to limit this, or do they like this? Does the league like this?
I like the jockeying. It's fun as a fan.
So let's compare the NFL to NBA for 1 second. So the NBA is really cracking down on the big spenders, like really cracking down. And you're going to see this come out as part of the new CBA whenever this thing gets finalized. Is they're really going to try and hammer these teams, the Nets and the Warriors and some of these teams that outspend everybody else.
There'll be more punitive taxes?
Absolutely, yeah, because
they're already punitive.
Right, and they're trying to bring those teams back to the pack. And so I just wonder, you don't really talk about that with the NFL.
No.
I don't know. I think the NFL probably likes the current system the way that they have it, and they let teams sort of manipulate it.
The NFL doesn't have, some of the teams that don't spend are smaller market teams, but in general, the city is much less a factor in football than it is in the other sports.
Well, look at baseball. In baseball, you have the coastal advantage, and
right?
That's it.
But even in basketball, where there is a salary cap like football, the city does mean something.
It does,
because players want to play in certain places.
Sure.
In football, it's not much. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Now, I don't want to get too far off track. I want to get back to what we're talking about. But the TV deals in football and NBA make the cities less relevant than baseball.
Because Green Bay gets the same as New York.
And Oklahoma City and Memphis and some of these smaller teams in the NBA, Buffalo, Green Bay, and the NFL.
Right. Go compare.
The TV deals are so monstrous that they all do just fine.
Go look at the difference between what the Yankees get in their TV deal and the Brewers.
Right, but
and so that's why you have that huge pay disparity.
Right, but even between football and basketball, which is a better comparison because both have salary caps.
Right.
Like players want to go play these super teams. They want to play in certain markets. In the NFL, like it doesn't matter.
No, you know what? That's a good point, Bull. I think Landry and OBJ thought they could team up and become a super team.
Right.
It doesn't work.
It does.
You need 51 other guys.
Guys want to go play. It's about the money, but they want to play with a certain quarterback or a certain system.
Yeah.
It's not. You rarely hear in the NFL, he wants to play in New York or he wants to. That's
I think it's the shortness of your career too. Like you can't bank. You got 4 years, right? Average length of career is like 3 and some change.
That's true.
So you can't I can't be sitting here talking about I'm going to go hang out with Bull, and I'm 29 years old. You might not even make the roster.
Right.
And none of the contracts are guaranteed. So I think it really opens it up where people will just say I'm going to take the best deal available.
So let's advance the ball a little bit into day 2, and we kind of touched on it. But what's one move you really want the Browns to make that they haven't?
Honestly. It's Ogunjobi.
And that's mine, too. We kind of stumbled upon it a little early,
I don't know.
I'm with you. I'm with Ogunjobi.
To me, I think there's 5 other guys out there that are same, if not better, than Ogunjobi.
Ogunjobi's had a lot of injuries.
I'm fine with Ogunjobi, but there's other guys.
He knows the division. He knows, he's familiar with Cleveland.
I just think there's other guys that could do what he does.
So what's your dream move?
To me, it's trading for Brandon Cooks today.
Okay.
Because there's no other wide receiver available that's as good as Brandon Cooks.
No,
whereas I think there's guys available that are just as good as Ogunjobi. Again, I'm not anti-Ogunjobi, but there's other guys.
Sure.
Whereas Brandon Cooks, to me,
he's one of one.
Just what the Browns need.
Yeah.
It would be a perfect fit. I think he's the best receiver that they could, unless there's some receiver that's significantly better that is just not on my radar because I don't think they're getting traded.
Yeah.
Most of the top 20 receivers are not going anywhere.
What does Hunter Renfrow do for you guys? Anything at all?
Nothing.
If he's going to be like a part of a tandem where I got Hunter Renfrow, but I wouldn't got somebody else like Cooks.
Yeah.
Or
Hopkins, you want him to be the piece.
Yeah, that's just a guy that you're gonna have a piece in there. And I would say for me, I want to just finish the defensive line off. I want to give me Fletcher Cox or whoever you got the best defensive tackle available. Now I can look at my defense and be like, oh, well, we got that covered. Now we can go move on to free agency or figure it out.
So one mole at a time on the whack-a-mole game.
Yeah. Yep.
Could I add one more name to that list?
Absolutely.
I want to see a guy that we haven't talked about. He came on my radar about 2 days ago. He's not a day one guy, probably not even a day two guy, but Chris Wormley, the defensive tackle from Pittsburgh. He was top 10 in the league against the run as far as interior defensive lineman goes last year.
Right.
I think he'd fit really nicely next to Tomlinson because he does have a little pass rush upside too. And just like Okunjobi does know the division. He played on both Baltimore and Pittsburgh.
What about my guy from the Jets that
Sheldon
I mentioned
Rankins?
on Friday?
No,
Sheldon Rankins?
Cincinnati and Pittsburgh for Ogunjobi.
Yeah.
Not Baltimore.
Not Baltimore, yeah.
Who's from the Jets?
I forgot his name now.
Sheldon Rankins.
Oh, Sheldon Rankins.
Okay.
Yeah. I like the idea of Sheldon Rankins.
Do we? Who for you guys league wide won day one of free agency?
Well, I texted Mike. Mike, you have my list. Do you want to bring it up?
I have your list, yes, and thank you both for listening to instructions.
Thank you.
You're the only one of the four.
Listen, I didn't because I just feel like it's grading a paper that's a third of the way through.
Well, but we're basically,
I know that's
it's
what
just
we
a
do.
day one grade.
No, right.
Just a day one
Right.
grade. I thought the Panthers, well, I hated their trade the other day.
Yeah.
I thought they made two really good moves. They signed Von Bell.
Yep.
It's a big loss for the Bengals.
You were hot over that.
I was disappointed
We
in
were
that.
cheering that in the
You
in the
were
chat room.
cheering. Fair. I understand that. And they re-signed Bradley Bozeman, their center, who's really good. I thought he was going to leave. I thought the Steelers lost the starting corner, and that was going to hurt them. But then they signed Patrick Peterson, who even at his age played great last year. I thought that was a good. I thought even
But
though
he's a lot closer to the end than he is to the beginning.
No,
Yes,
but
I mean,
now I thought the Bengals.
they're not getting the Patrick Peterson we all remember.
Well, but he's still really good. He had a great year last year. I thought the Bengals re-signing Jermaine Pratt was a great move, even though they lost Von Bell. To get Pratt, who's a really good linebacker for $7 million a year, I thought was a steal. And the Commanders signing Andrew Wiley, offensive tackle from Washington. Really good player at a good price?
Were you guys surprised Jalen Ramsey only went for a third?
No, because I don't think he's
No,
that good
we
anymore.
had talked last year that the guy had lost his fastball, and he just wasn't. Even in the Super Bowl and the playoffs 2 years ago, he did not look like Jalen Ramsey.
I mean, I certainly wouldn't want him on the Browns. The Browns obviously are set there, but I thought he'd go for more than a 3.
Hey, man, I had to call.
Well, don't forget they threw in Hunter Long.
Right. Oh, well, never mind. That
that kind of
that changes everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I had to call Crime Stoppers. I'm like, somebody out here get abused, dog. 911, what's going on out there in that corner lonely? But I will say this. I could give no grade because the grade is going to be made today and tomorrow. Look how many of these top guys are still available. This is by Phil Yates. Bobby Wagner, Orlando Brown, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Odell Beckham Jr., Levante David. Jacoby Myers is off the board now. Jordan Poyer is here. Dalton Schultz, James Bradbury at corner, Miles Sanders, Adam Thielen, all are still available.
None of these running. Oh, Raheem Mostert re-signed with the Dolphins today, but most of the running backs and wide receivers have not moved. Mike, before we continue, do you want to talk PCC? Should we get a little PCC action?
Yeah, we'll do a little PCC action. Boy, I love when you remind us to inform the people of the single greatest airfoil maker in all of America. That is PCC, and guess what? They're hiring. If you need a job with career advancement and great benefits, well, PCC Airfoils is the leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more.
I don't know how it's going to work out, but when I was thinking about the losers, one of the things I thought of is my buddy Trey Wingo. He was out there yesterday. Now, it still might come
saying
true.
that it's a done deal, the Rodgers deal.
Yeah. I mean,
hasn't happened yet.
No, it hasn't.
Although,
how does any NFL Network guy screw up any deal ever? You work for the league.
Like, Wingo's just independent
he's
now.
Independent, yeah.
He was formerly at ESPN.
Right.
Now he's like a brand ambassador for one of the casinos.
Wasn't he at NFL Network?
No, he was at ESPN, and he was their number 2 NFL face for years.
Rich Eisen.
Okay.
Rich Eisen is who you're thinking about. Yeah.
I mean, though I will say there's reports that the Jets are close to signing Alan Lazard, who played with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, no.
So it's probably still going to happen.
At the end of the day, he may be right.
Right.
But the fact that no one has confirmed it, in fact, there have been some people walk it back a little bit. Yeah. These have to be some tense hours for Trey, because the last thing you want to do is be wrong on the single biggest story of a season.
Well, he's not a traditional newsbreaker.
No.
To start.
No.
And like if you know how the game works, there's only 2 or 3 people that you get that from.
Yeah.
That you would go with.
That's why when I saw it was from Trey, I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What?
I mean,
now,
I don't know.
He's got a lot of connections.
Connected. He's obviously connected.
And I think he and Aaron have a pretty close relationship. At least they did. So
maybe he's getting it right from.
It's entirely possible
Aaron.
that he is.
But it's the agent, it's the player, it's the GM.
That's it.
That's all
that's
you
the
trust.
circle.
That's all you trust on those type of transaction type deal. And maybe an assistant GM.
That's like somebody.
That was like Schefter last year with the Brady retirement news.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Brady came back after.
Yeah.
Hey, did you guys see the way the Chiefs did Orlando Brown? But so he wanted. I can't remember what it was that he was asking for. Something
He wanted
absurd.
$20+ million a year.
Yeah.
They ended up signing Jawan Taylor, Stevie Take Tag Board full.
And then they just
for $20 million a year.
Yeah.
He's younger.
He's younger, but
Smart to go with the younger guy.
Brown is available now.
Yeah.
As a result.
Yeah.
And
But
Brown's very
I love
good.
it. You know what? When you're the Chiefs, that's why it's so important to get to the top, because everybody wants to go win a ring.
That's right.
And they want to play with one of the best quarterbacks
That's right.
that the game has ever seen.
It's crazy.
So it is such a built-in advantage when you have that guy on your squad.
No doubt.
And that coach. Because
Yeah.
right now they have both.
Guys want to play with them.
And
yeah.
guys want to play with them. And you're able to tell a guy that might ordinarily hold a gun to your head, hit the bricks.
Yeah, we'll take somebody else.
I got somebody in the wings
Yeah.
that's just as good and younger, and I'll pay
That's
him.
right.
So it was interesting. the
Mike,
way they
throw
dealt
out
with that.
my guys that I didn't like, the signings that I didn't like. You got my list?
We'll start with the first one, and we'll start with the Bears in general here before we get to the Rest Bowl. But
I didn't
first
understand this signing.
big name the Bears signed, was Tremaine Edmonds, the linebacker out of Buffalo. Stevie, take tag board full. He got $50 million guaranteed.
That's nuts.
And they paid an inside linebacker, Edmonds, who is very good.
But he's
More
not
money than Roquan Smith got, who
Isn't
they
that
traded last week.
Isn't that the highest deal
ever
For an
on a
inside
four-year,
linebacker.
highest
Linebacker?
4-year deal ever for an inside linebacker who's not great against the run.
That's
Like,
absurd.
I don't understand that move. They had a Roquan Smith. They traded him. Roquan Smith's better.
Is
They
it
traded
because
him last year.
if you trace the history of the Bears, they've always, when they were great, they always had an
Great
all-time
linebacker.
great linebacker.
But
Whether
they
it was
traded
Dick
Roquan
Butkus,
Smith, who I think is better.
I don't understand why they
Supposedly
let
he
Smith
fits
go.
their system more. I don't pay attention to the Bears that closely, but
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought, man, that's a steep
a lot
price
of money
tag.
for an inside
when they
linebacker.
when they have the amount of money that they got, I mean,
They got a ton of cap space.
you gotta.
But
spend
why
it
wouldn't they have?
somewhere.
Yeah, but I need
No,
offense.
But gee, why wouldn't they have instead Reese just locked up Roquan Smith last year instead of doing that?
Maybe they thought it wasn't no good.
Well, hell, turn on the tape.
I mean, I don't know.
Roquan's
He turned the Ravens' defense around.
You know,
Second he got
They
there.
were not great in the first half of the year,
Hey,
and then he turned them around in the
I
second
liked
half.
them. I was advocating the Browns to take a look at them, but that's what happens when you're a bad team. Like
Yeah.
when you're a bad organization, you undervalue the people that is in your organization that are really good that can help you, and then you reach for guys who aren't as good as that. It's just a typical sign of that's why they drafted number one.
I've been
you're right.
I've been without my phone for 39 minutes, and I've got the shakes.
Are
Yeah.
you over
Where
there
is
like
it?
this?
I have no idea where my phone is.
I tried to call you, but it didn't.
It's either in my car or in the bathroom.
Do you need to unplug and go
No,
get
no,
it?
no, no.
I mean,
maybe
you could be getting
one
hot
of you guys can
news.
look for his
It's-
bat. Look
It's
for his
like
bat.
10:59 as I'm getting wired up. I'm like, oh my God, where's my? I don't know where my phone is.
McNuggets,
Yeah.
I'm like, Bull, call my phone. Call my phone. Yeah, I don't know where it is.
Whose phone is more of a alarm level 5 nuclear attack if they lose their phone, Jay or Jason? I feel like Jason got a lot of joints in there. You got
Yeah.
Listen, no. Like
No one's
today,
getting into mine, so
yeah,
I'm not worried
Jason's
about it.
is way more valuable
Right.
than Jay's in breaking news situations.
No
but
doubt.
If someone's going to go through the Rolodex,
yeah.
Oh,
Jay's got
phone.
some numbers
Well-
that we can't. Jay's probably got Obama's number.
Here's the thing: nobody can get into it. So if I lose it, I
Right.
mean, you can have it. You're not going to get anything out of it.
He even got a secure system that nobody know about. You should have get it to
Triple
Tiger.
face recognition.
You should have get that
double
to Tiger
thumbs.
Woods.
What'd you guys overall though? The Bears yesterday they spent out a ton of money on Edmonds. They
Yeah.
were the first to make a move. They brought in linebacker T.J. Edwards, so they revamped that entire linebacker core. They gave $33 million to Nate Davis, the guard, on top of the trade they made earlier,
Right.
with the first overall pick.
Didn't they get DJ Moore?
And they got DJ Moore in that
Moore.
trade. Yeah. Do you guys like what they've done this offseason?
I do, except for this move. I like the rest of what they've done. Yeah.
I like the move. I just don't like the
Hey.
price tag.
Right. I just don't
Edmonds.
understand spending that much money on a linebacker. I mean,
ton.
But aren't they
not-
aren't they trying to get a new stadium?
They are, well,
They are.
there's talk that they're good. So I think what's going on is the organization is using that as a crowbar to get the city to do something more for them than Soldier
can't have the
Field.
Bears not in Chicago. I mean,
No, but right now all the talk is that they're moving out of Chicago.
Yeah.
Now that could be,
That would be.
It's probably extortion.
That would be horrible.
Oh, at the highest levels.
But I mean, we'll see.
Billionaires
how that
are
plays
allowed
out.
to extort people.
Now,
That
they're
happens.
like, look at all the
taxpayers' money too.
All the money we spent, and you're gonna not give us a new deal? Come on.
Rich
now.
people love to talk about capitalism, except when they lose money. Then they want socialism.
Oh yeah. Listen.
Then they're into socialism.
No, they only want socialism when it benefits them.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Right. When their banks go bankrupt. Yeah.
That Silicon
Those
Valley
rich people.
Government, where are you?
Yeah.
Shout
right,
out to them.
exactly.
They should be opening up the coffers any day now
Yeah,
for Silicon
exactly.
Valley Bank, right?
Wow.
By the way, guys, another move I didn't like. I don't understand what the Raiders are doing. I understand that Jimmy Garoppolo played for Josh McDaniels, but like Derek Carr loved being a Raider, right? And I don't love Derek Carr either, but Derek Carr's better than Jimmy Garoppolo.
34 million.
Guys, I don't know on Carr.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm overthinking this.
Yeah.
I think the day he cried at the podium, that was as bad as who was the quarterback that was caught on mic, a young quarterback saying, "I'm seeing ghosts out there."
That was
the Jets.
Darnold. It was
It was
Darnold.
Darnold.
Yeah.
Sam
Yeah.
Darnold.
Who's now with San Francisco?
Okay, that is going to stick with me forever on Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I don't
And
know.
the thing that's going to stick with me when it comes to Carr is that he was standing at the podium
Yeah.
and he was crying real tears. That's not a good look for a player in this league who's supposed to be a leader. It just
I don't
isn't.
know. I think I don't have a problem with him crying.
That just goes to show you how frustrating playing for certain people are. It's frustrating. Like Josh Jacobs went off at the end of the year. Look at the amount of people that have come back and be like, "Listen, Josh McDaniels, I can't work with you, bro. I can't do it."
Well, he went back to the Raiders though. They franchised.
Well,
him.
he couldn't have much leverage in the
Yeah.
situation.
They
but
did add Jacoby Myers. These Patriot coaches try to reinvent. They try to do New England, in whatever city they're in. It never works.
It don't work.
No.
And I don't know. They got a lot of skill position talent. Everybody points to Jimmy Garoppolo's record. I can't argue that his record's really good. I just don't buy he's that
Well,
good
you
a
know what
quarterback.
though? You could put Jacoby Brissett with that defense.
Yes.
And he's going to have a really good record.
And by
too.
this year, look at the skill position talent they had when they traded for McCaffrey.
You're right.
I mean,
By the way, Brissett's still available. Do we have any idea what the market?
there's been no rumors about him or Baker since free agent. Since
The Baker
free agency
rumor
started.
to Tampa Bay.
But that was before free agency started. I mean, in the 24 hours since tampering started, I haven't heard
Are
anything
you
about
hearing
either of
anything
those
on? I just keep hearing from my friends in Tampa that Baker's coming, and they think it's a done deal.
No,
But-
I just got off the boat, so I've paid. I'm playing catch up today. I have no idea.
Okay.
Jameis Winston
I'll be honest,
staying
I have
in
no
New
idea.
Orleans
That's
to
surprising.
back up Derek Carr.
Yeah.
He's just a backup now.
I would not be surprised if you see Jacoby Brissett back in the Browns uniform. I just wouldn't. I don't think there's much of a market now that I'm
I
looking
don't
at
agree.
it.
I don't agree.
I don't think they have the money.
I don't.
We went over it yesterday. There's like 8 teams that still need a starter.
Yeah, I
But
think he's
here's the
leaving.
thing: a lot of people are now saying, "Okay, I might like like Levis out of Kentucky. I might like Anthony Richardson.
Okay, but
and then you have Bryce Young, and you also have C.J. Stroud. So that's 4 decent names in the first round.
Yeah, but Richardson's not going to start year 1, is he?
Brissett is the perfect guy to put in front of Levis or
Stopgap.
Richardson or one of these
Oh,
guys.
as a stopgap.
As a 1 year
until you get 'em
transfer until you
Even
Question for you guys.
Yeah.
Based on that, so we saw Mike White got $8 million a year last year. This morning, Taylor Heineke got $10 million from the Falcons to help gauge and bring up Desmond Ridder, who they drafted in the second round last year. Based on those 2 contracts,
Yeah, we're not
I
keeping him.
feel like Brissett is going to cost more than that, even if it's a 1-year deal, right?
Well,
unless he
I don't
gets
think
screwed.
he had his.
I mean, he might get screwed because
But Heineke had more success than Brissett did.
Heineke had a good year.
he had a better
really good year.
He had a better record. He didn't play that well.
But he had a
either.
good year. Like I think the biggest mistake they made was putting him on the bench at the end of the year.
I like him. I liked him way better than Wentz. But here's the thing: if Jacoby was going to get that, why was he not the first quarterback off the board?
Hey,
Maybe because they haven't come. He hasn't got an offer that he's liked yet.
as of
That's for
this
sure.
moment, here are spots for Jacoby. If the Jets don't get Aaron Rodgers, that's one possibility,
He ain't
right?
going there.
No way. The
They'll
New
do-
York Jets fan base would burn the
Well, but they're
building.
gonna-
I know, but I'm just telling you. After going
I
from
agree.
Aaron Rodgers to Jacoby Brissett,
I agree, but
storm
in
the
the end,
castle.
let's say Rodgers retires.
yeah,
You never know with him. He's a whack job.
he might sign and then retire.
What are they going to do? Who else is out there for them? Unless they go after Lamar Jackson.
I would be.
Well,
hard.
yeah, that's on the books too.
Who's starting for Houston? Well, they signed Case Keenum.
Case Keenum is their
Is
guy,
he
but
going
I
to
don't
be their
think- I don't
bridge
think-
quarterback, or is he a
They're going
backup?
to draft a guy.
They're probably going to draft a guy.
By the way, if the Jets can't swing and miss on...
Who's Washington's starting quarterback right now?
They signed...
well, did they just sign
No, they don't.
No. Are you sure?
They have no quarterback right. Well, I mean, Sam Howell, the guy they drafted late in
he's
last
not
year's
the guy,
draft.
though.
is
Washington, Tampa
he's the only
Bay.
quarterback on the roster.
Who's Carolina's quarterback?
Who they're going to draft, number
Draft
one.
and they're going to sign again.
Right.
Well, maybe it's smart for Jacoby to sit back and wait.
See how it play out?
Someone's going to get desperate.
Arizona.
They need somebody.
Once Jackson and Rodgers fall,
Yeah.
I think they're the big dominoes.
Well,
Maybe you'll see Jacoby in a better position.
Well,
to
think
make
about
a
it. You
decision.
need Arizona. Let's say Rodgers goes to the Jets. Arizona needs a starter because Kyler Murray tore his ACL at the end of last year.
Late in the year.
So Arizona, Carolina might want a bridge starter.
Right.
Maybe. And Tampa Bay and who do we say? Washington. So that's 4 teams that could potentially need a starter. Now, they might draft rookies, but you got Baker out there, you got Jacoby, and you got Gardner Minshew. Is there anybody else? Andy Dalton?
Yeah, Dalton's out there.
Yeah.
Says he still wants to play.
The Jets can only go one direction. Either they sign Aaron Rodgers or
They got to go after Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
that's
that's
it. There's no turning back to a stopgap.
No,
They'll eat them alive.
And I think you can scratch Jacoby's name off the list in Carolina, too. Like, I don't know how that fan base is going to respond to
Another stopgap.
We got
Whoever they draft
Baker from Cleveland. Now we're getting Jacoby.
Whoever
Brissett
they
from
draft
Cleveland.
number one is playing day one.
You think?
I would
I
think
do
so.
too.
Right.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Boy, that can be a bad situation.
Well,
So it's Washington, Tampa, and Arizona do need somebody.
Yeah.
And
Desperately.
Baker probably ends up in one of those spots, and Jacoby probably
and
ends up in one of those spots.
if the Jets land Aaron Rodgers, Zach Wilson's probably getting flipped to one of those teams. You know, maybe.
I mean, nobody wants
Like,
him.
But if you're a,
He's horrible.
I mean,
he has been horrible, yes. But if you're a young team, or if you're a team without a quarterback, wouldn't you take a flyer on him? I would. I'd bring him to camp for what the price is going to be.
Why wouldn't the Jets just hold on to him? Because Aaron Rodgers might play 1 year.
Well, listen, they might end up having to hold on to him and coach him up.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think
he sucks.
He does. I think so, too.
When you flame out in New York, there's no coming back from that. But that doesn't mean that he can't have success in another. Listen, I'm not saying he's a Hall of
Geno
Famer.
flamed out in New York 10 years
Yeah,
later.
but he had to go to Seattle before he finally found his footing.
I'm just saying, I don't think New York holds on to him. If they get somebody else, I think they're moving on from him.
Yeah.
And you're getting him for pennies on the dollar compared to what they gave up to get him.
Are you saying here for the Browns, are you guys in agreement that you don't get a backup quarterback with any sort of name or storyline? It's just a dude.
It could be. Listen, the Browns might be. The Browns can't afford to spend legit big money on a backup quarterback.
Or
No,
Like,
but
could
you know
one
what?
of those guys that could Andy Dalton end up coming here for $3 million a year? I mean, maybe. I'd be happy with Andy Dalton.
I
as a
would be
backup.
happy with Andy Dalton as a backup.
What did Jacoby get last year? Six. What was he
Yeah.
making?
Yeah, but
I think he
there's-
was 6.
Aren't they projecting 8 to 10 for him?
Well,
somewhere
that's why I'm
this year?
saying he's not going to get less than that, obviously.
No, and he's
And-
not. The Browns can't afford to spend that much. I
and
mean, I don't know.
What did Keenum get?
From the Browns or last year?
No, on his deal yesterday.
I want
don't
to say
know.
he got 6. So maybe.
Give me 1 sec.
I'm gonna tell you this. I'll tell you this though.
He got 6.25, $4 million guaranteed.
If I'm Stefanski and I say, look, man, Deshaun Watson has 2 torn ACLs in his past. If he comes out here and gets hurt week 1 or 2, and don't go crazy in the chat, I'm just saying, if I'm the coach, I gotta have something back.
gotta
me
think
up.
that way.
Like, because if he get hurt and the season go down the tube, you're done.
But if Deshaun Watson has a season-ending injury, the season's over no matter who they have.
Absolutely.
Now,
I mean,
if he's
it
out,
wasn't last year
We
for San
saw
Francisco.
that last year. He was out 11 weeks, and look what they
but
did.
I
know,
it's the
But
exact same thing.
here's my thing. Yes, it's over, but who do you have more faith in it that could give you a remote shot of staying competitive?
it doesn't matter in this conference with the Bills, Chiefs, and Bengals. And I think the Jaguars are going to be moving into that mix.
In their division. Just
And
in their division.
To me, it's about who can keep me afloat if Deshaun Watson misses 3 weeks.
It's the Colts
not
theory.
not the whole. If he's the whole season, it's over.
Either or. What
Yeah.
I'm saying is just because it happens, the season's over, doesn't mean you don't think about it. Like you can't say, all right, well the season's over anyway, so we're not going to bring nobody else
I know,
in.
but we're saying the Browns have a lot of holes.
So it comes down to this. Do you want Jacoby Brissett or do you want a safety? Because
I'd take Brissett because he is the safety.
I'd take the safety.
In this situation, he is the safety.
It goes back to the Colts theory. If Peyton Manning goes down, we're screwed anyway, so we're not going to spend anything on the backup quarterback. I'd rather allocate that money to a position where the guy's going to get on the field and can help us win, because if we don't have Peyton Manning.
I don't know, man. I watched San Francisco damn near make a Super Bowl last year. They were down to quarterback
with a guy
number
who they
4.
didn't spend any money on.
You're right.
Yeah.
So that's why I said,
Mr. Irrelevant. Well, maybe they take somebody in the 7th round.
And that was on the best roster in the worst conference.
Maybe they draft a guy in the 7th round.
I don't think that's unreasonable. I don't think that's unreasonable that they take a quarterback
late in the draft.
The Chad Henne route, where you take a guy 4th round, 5th round. They do have an extra 3 and an extra 4, right? Maybe you take a developmental guy in that 4th round, 5th round, and bring him along. Yeah. If you're not sold on, maybe they're sold on Kellen Mond as that guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, if you
explain to the viewers why you say that so quickly.
Listen, Kellen's my guy. I covered him for 4 years at A&M. Awesome dude. I'm going to get him on at some point, but he had a really hard time processing defenses quickly in college. I can't imagine, after not playing for 2.5 years now in the NFL, that has expedited to a point where he's going to be able to.
Is that a word?
Yeah, expedite.
That's a word?
Yeah, I think it's a word.
Expedite,
whatever. Yeah. To the point where he's going to be quickly reading NFL defenses in an RPO-style system.
Yeah, it's like typically if you don't get it in college,
he's gonna rock
you're not going to get it here.
Those are great deep ball, so if we want to see Stefanski chuck it deep, which we haven't seen a lot yet, open up the playbook, but I'm not sold on Kellen Mond, even though he's my guy. Love you, Kellen.
Yeah, it scares the hell out of me, man. It does. It just scares the hell out of me because – I know, I get your point. If he goes down, you're not winning it anyhow. But it just seems like a lot is at risk. You've got all these deals, all this money. The clock is ticking.
Yep.
And to think that your season comes down to a fragile knee that's already been dinged twice.
But here's the thing. They've changed the rules so much to protect quarterbacks more than ever before. And I understand he's been hurt. But even in the time since Deshaun got hurt, they've changed the rules even more to protect him.
But look how many quarterbacks got hurt last year.
But the Browns are also cognizant of trying to limit his exposure to hits. And they kind of look at Jalen Hurts as a guy of like, Philly really likes to run their quarterback. We're not going to run our quarterback as much as Jalen runs.
Right.
So I think that they are trying to protect him. I just think that the league goes over the top in trying to protect its quarterbacks. Were there some injuries? Yeah, of course. It's inevitable. But I don't think you can live in your fears of –
No.
Because I had players in the locker room tell me how many teams make it with a backup quarterback, how many teams make the playoffs with a backup quarterback. Like, they just – kind of chalk the whole thing.
When it happens, it's a huge story, like San Francisco last year.
And it's such an anomaly. You can't bank on that. You can't worry about that. You got to roll with your guy, allocate your resources elsewhere, and if he goes down, you're screwed. You're screwed.
If you can get a veteran for $2-3 million.
Hey, if Jacoby wants to take $3 million, bring him back.
I think maybe Andy Dalton at this point.
I wouldn't mind.
You might be able to get him for $3. Jameis signed for $4 million. He can make more with incentives, and that's something you do. You say to Andy Dalton, "Hey, we'll pay you $2.5 million guaranteed, but if you end up starting, you'll have these incentives built in."
They really need to do their homework and say, okay, we need to bring in a guy that can run this offense. Like, because you got to think, it's different. You can't just revert back.
And Andy Dalton
is not Deshaun. But Deshaun is, there's not many guys in that.
Well, none of these guys can do that. None of the remaining guys.
I mean, to a degree, you're not going to get Deshaun Watson. My thing is, if I'm a coach, I just continue to say it. I can't leave anything to chance. I got to make sure every T and dotted every I to make sure I give myself a chance. Because here's the thing. You can sit here and say, oh, well, I'm going to go out like that because we can't do anything. But there are teams that can manage and coach up players that are, I mean, the 49ers did it with 3-4 different dudes.
Yeah, they just kept rolling them out there.
But again, you guys are pointing at one or two examples.
One rare example with the best roster.
Right, compared to, and that is an incredible
and a great
roster.
Coach.
And that's just not the norm. Did they do it? Yes. And all credit to them for
when
doing
Belichick lost Brady in week 1, he brought in Matt Castle, but again, it's the Patriots. They were
that was
strong
a long time ago, and
else.
it's just rare examples.
And he went 10-6.
Those are the anomalies.
Here's what I'm gonna give you. Mitch Trubisky and the old dude for the Steelers. They got how many wins last year?
Did they end up 9-8?
They went 9-8, right?
Yeah.
They had a quarterback that
But but they didn't make the playoffs.
But what I'm saying though is, if you look at what they did, they didn't go in and say, okay, we'll just put Trubisky or we'll just use the rookie. They used both of them.
But the bottom line is, if you have
they used Trubisky to get Pickett ready. And once they saw Trubisky sucked, and Kenny had a couple weeks under his belt, and when you go back to Castle, that's exactly what San Francisco did with Purdy. Castle, I believe, was just a young drafted guy.
He was.
Mm-hmm. So that's what we're saying.
Right.
These teams aren't investing big dollars in backup quarterbacks.
Who's the veteran backup quarterback that took a team deep in the playoffs?
Tom Brady.
Jeff Hostetler. 30 years ago, Jeff Hostetler.
Tom Brady.
When
But he wasn't a veteran.
But
No,
he was a young.
He was a rookie.
But he was a young.
But I'm
drafted
saying,
guy.
like, you guys are saying, let's sign a veteran, let's spend money. Who's the veteran backup that's taking a team deep in the playoffs?
I'm not saying
Frank Reich and Jeff Hostetler in the 90s.
Earl Morrill.
Yeah.
We got to go back to 1972.
I'm not saying spend big time money on it.
Like like I said, the Bengals don't spend. If Joe Burrow gets hurt, the Bengals season's over.
Yeah.
I don't care what happens.
But
the season's over.
Bernie Kosar.
Yes.
Miami.
Yeah.
Or I mean Dallas.
When the Bengals were playing with Carson Palmer against the Steelers, and he tore his knee in the playoffs.
Yeah, I remember that.
Game, it was over.
That's it.
It was over. John Kitna went in, they had no chance.
well, if Joe Burrow gets hurt, Zach
It's over.
Taylor's not getting fired.
Rich
I know
Gannon.
that.
Rich Gannon. He was a veteran backup that had a good run.
That's
Sure
true.
was.
That was a
It-
while.
it-
30
happened.
years ago.
It
But
has
the
happened.
point is the Browns are not a good enough team that they can afford to not spend in other places.
And you know what? The style of ball that Watson plays, and you would want your backup to sort of mirror that, you can't get to be a veteran in the league as a backup and stick around with that skill set.
Yeah.
Steve Becker just gave us the answer. It's Nick Foles.
Oh,
No,
God.
stay away from him. My God.
Hey, that's a backup that went far in the playoffs. Oh yeah, he actually
That's
won
the
the
one
Super
guy.
Bowl.
Won the
That
Super
is
Bowl.
the more recent
Won
guy.
the Super Bowl against Tom Brady.
Mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. He played phenomenal in that postseason.
And you know what? He is the biggest Jekyll and Hyde quarterback I've
He
ever
only
seen
plays
in my
well in
life.
Philadelphia. for
Yeah,
some
but
reason.
he played like ass in Philadelphia sometimes too.
I mean, it was really only that year that he played well.
And
He had one other decent year
What
in
was
Philly.
his contract that year too?
I
I don't
don't
think
know.
he was making big
Probably
dollars.
nothing.
No.
Yeah, he
He
wouldn't
was
make
an
big money.
afterthought.
I'm not spending $10 million for a backup quarterback.
Absolutely not.
Well,
No,
I'm not
absolutely
advocating that.
No.
I'm advocating $4 billion, 4.5.
Well,
Man.
you're not getting
we
Jacoby
got
for that.
some reads to do, right?
Yeah, it's our 12 o'clock hour, which means it's time to tell you guys about Colleague Racing, which is the official sponsor of the noon hour of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. It's also the official NASCAR team of Northeast Ohio. And, guys, it's time to bring on a debut guest on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Is Kaylee Griffin of Valley Sports Cavs host. What's up, Kaylee?
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, Kaylee. It's great to have you. You're doing a great job in year one as your pregame and postgame host. We love watching you. We've got 12 games left. It looks like they're pretty solidly entrenched in the 4 right now. Give us your thoughts on how they finish the year and what happens once we get to the postseason.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that there are just 12 games left in the season for the Cavs, but I am expecting this team to stay safely in that 4 spot. Again, they'd have to have something pretty drastic happen for them to slip either way. The Knicks and the Nets are kind of 3 games back behind them, and the Sixers have built a pretty good lead on them. So it's going to be interesting, but I think home court advantage for this Cavs team is going to be huge in the postseason. And right now, it looks like they're going to get that, especially if they find themselves facing off against the Nets or the Knicks in that first round. It's going to be interesting. And we have 2 matchups with Brooklyn coming up next week. And then the Knicks are going to come to town one more time before the end of the regular season. So I think we'll get a little taste of what we can expect in that first postseason matchup. But this is a young Cavs team that, again, is figuring things out for the very first time. We've heard from JB Bickerstaff over this last week of games where they've had 2 in Miami, now 2 in Charlotte, that this is a good test for the group in terms of preparing for a postseason, having to stay in a city and play the same team twice in a row. There's a different level of intensity, a different level of preparation in terms of having knowledge of how the team just defended you and how you go and defend them. So exciting that we are at this point of the season already and looking forward to what's ahead.
I think JB is excited that he's opening a Crumble Cookies. Have you heard about this? Do you know about this already, Kenny? He's opening a Crumble Cookies, apparently. Crumble Cookies is the best.
They are the best. And I don't know if I heard it, but I know he opened one, and I think there's a second one that he might be opening too. So we definitely are going to have to check those out. I mean, what a cool adventure for him. And he should definitely be providing Crumble Cookies to the media room at Rocket Mortgage. No question.
100%. Kaylee,
free for sure.
Yes, free for. What is the latest with Jared Allen? How's he doing?
So he is still listed as doubtful for tonight. He is dealing with the eye contusion. It is kind of one of those things that I think they're going to play safe when it comes to him. Obviously, he is super important for this team as they get down the stretch of the regular season, especially the postseason. Tonight's matchup with the Hornets, obviously they want to come out victorious, no doubt, but I think they'd rather see him in a matchup with the Sixers or even later on this week. So I think they're going to aim to play safe with him. He did go through practice yesterday, which is obviously a good sign, but they're going to just keep it safe with him. And obviously he is so important. I think we even saw that in that last game against Charlotte, how different this team looks without Jared Allen on the floor, whether he's scoring or not scoring. Simply his presence on the court is so important for this team as they make that playoff push.
Kaylee, what surprised you about this season? Has anything really stood out to you or something you didn't see coming?
I think I'm surprised at the level that Donovan Mitchell's playing at. I worked in the Western Conference for the last 3 seasons with the Houston Rockets, so I saw Donovan Mitchell pretty regularly and knew no doubt that he was a star player, but I didn't know that he could take his game to superstar level like we've seen this year. 9 40-point games already this season. He's averaging a career high in points. The way he's able to shoot the 3 ball, he has stepped up his game to a new level that I personally did not expect, but it's exactly what this Cavaliers front office was hoping for when they made the trade for him, is that he could help take this team to another level. And I think he's showing that he has that ability. He is a superstar. He can compete at the highest level, especially in the Eastern Conference. And I think it's safe to say that did anybody really expect that Donovan Mitchell was going to be playing at this level this quickly? Probably not.
No, I agree. We made that point earlier on in the year that he did more. He could do more than we thought he could.
Kaylee, Evan Mobley, he's averaging around 15, 16 points. But the thing that always gets me when I watch him is just this fact that he's so disciplined defensively. He's able on pick and rolls. He's able to switch. He's able to move his feet. He stays down on any pump fakes. He's just always in his right place defensively, and it's almost like he's beyond his years in terms of understanding how to play defense at a high level, very young. What does JB, think about how good Evan Mobley can be defensively moving forward? Because he's awesome right now.
It's a rarity, I think, especially coming into the NBA, that you such a young player occasion on the defensive end, and Evan Mobley coming into the NBA known for his defensive ability. I think that is what's been so impressive so far this season. He's been able to take his game to another level offensively as well, especially since February 1st. He's averaging a double-double. So JB Bickerstaff has always preached patience, understanding that he is 21 years old. He is coming along. There's still an adjustment period to the NBA that Evan is learning. He's been actively working in the weight room to get stronger, understanding that he needs to continue to work on his body to take his game to that next level. But defensively, he has essentially become an anchor. He's able to, like we've seen against Charlotte the last game, he's able to handle things himself. And as this Cavaliers team moves along and into the future, Evan Mobley is going to play a huge part in this team's defensive presence. It's something that the Cavs have relied on all season long. Defensive principles, being steady all the way through on the defensive end, something that you don't really see anymore. And the Cavs preach that, and Evan Mobley has become an anchor for that. And it's, I think, a little surprising to see such a young player be able to do it so quickly. But coming into the league, that's kind of what he was known for, and that he's been able to stay so steady defensively, even as sometimes his numbers go up and down on the offensive end, I think is something that this Cavs team wants to build off of.
Kaylee, I'm a little surprised Danny Green hasn't played more. When they got him, I was kind of curious to see if he's got anything left. Is the fact he's not playing tell us that there's nothing left in the tank, or do you think there's a role for him yet still in the postseason for this team?
I've been surprised too. I actually thought that Danny Green was going to play a decent role off the bench. I think he still does have some left in the tank. I mean, a season ago when he was in Philadelphia, he was starting in that game that he ended up tearing his ACL. So I'm curious to see. Now, JB has said that there is still a role for Danny Green on the offensive end, and that he expects that he can play with this team. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. I did expect to see Danny a little bit more on the floor as once they acquired him, and we haven't really seen that yet so far. But from a veteran leadership standpoint, I don't think you can ask for much more when you bring in a guy who has won at the highest level with 3 different teams. He's been a big part of success with the Spurs championship, with Toronto's, and of course with the Lakers as well, and was playing on a potential championship contending team a season ago with the Sixers. So I think that is valuable experience to this team. I'm hopeful. I'm still remaining hopeful that maybe we'll see Danny Green get a little more run now. He really didn't. I think he played in 4 games with the Grizzlies before ultimately ending up in Cleveland. So that might play a role in it, the ramp up for Danny Green. But I'm curious to see, because obviously this Cavs team could use a little shooting off the bench. And I think Danny Green could provide that.
Kaylee, you've been around obviously Houston, San Antonio, and the Cavs. How do you feel like the chemistry on this team is compared to some of the other teams you've covered?
The chemistry on this team it feels like it's on another level. They genuinely enjoy each other, both the floor, and I think that is sometimes to an NBA team, because at the end of the day, but these guys genuinely appear to enjoy with each other in all aspects. And it's hard to right people to build that camaraderie when it comes to a young group. But I think that also plays a role into it, that a lot of them are similar ages. They're going through a lot of the same things, and they're able to have that camaraderie. So that also helps when it comes to postseason and pushing for a playoff run, is that you have a team that genuinely enjoys each other for each other. We've seen that throughout the season. Obviously, there's been highs, there's been lows, but this group seems to find a way to battle through all of it. And I think that's going to serve this team well as they head into the postseason.
Kaylee, the pecking order in the East seems to feel about right now. I think a lot of folks, when the season began, thought that the Cavs would be right around that 4 seed. They've had some success against the Boston, Philly, Milwaukee triumvirate. But right now, at least my confidence level in a series against any of those 3, I don't see the Cavs getting over the hump against either of those 3 teams. What part of their game is missing that they have to have if they want to take that next step and get past either a Philly or Boston or a Milwaukee in the postseason?
My thoughts are that the struggles on the road have been pretty notable for this group throughout the season. They have been very, very good at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse throughout the year, but when they go on the road, sometimes that is where this team struggles. And so against all 3 of those teams, they would be the lesser seed, so they would not have home court advantage. And I think that's something to pay attention to. Now, as we've gone down the stretch of the season, they've had a little more success on the road, and that's obviously a good sign as you build up for the postseason. And I think some of these games down the stretch are going to be crucial to see where this Cavs team is away from home. I also think the second unit is just going to be so crucial. All season long, they've struggled to get key contributions, especially offensively, from that second unit. They've relied so heavily on that core 4 of Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and obviously for good reason. They when there's the balance of attack among those 4, this team feels but hopefully they do need rest. Season, there's going to be times where they need to come off the floor. There's could be foul trouble as well, so they need to get a little more offensive firepower second unit, and they're more than capable of it. They have some legit shooters. It's just about consistency at this point, and I'm curious to see how this team ends the season over these last 12 and what JB looks for, because he still mixes and matches a little bit that second unit. So I think it's something to pay attention to here tonight, tomorrow against Philly in particular, just to see what JB is thinking in terms of who he throws out there.
Kaylee, before we let you go, I know you covered the Astros a little bit when you were in Houston. How often did you see Jose Altuve banging garbage cans? Did it happen a lot? Once in a while? No comment?
I actually had a feeling that you guys might bring this up. I will say I got there post-2019, so I was not there in the mix. I never encountered that, but I will say that, hey, it was a fun opportunity for me to cover a team that was playing at that level for those 3 years. I hadn't had a ton of baseball experience up until then, and so to be able to cover a team that was consistently competing for a World Series was a enjoyable time for me. And I'm hoping that as we head into Guardian season that maybe I'll be able to do a little fill-in work for them as well. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Nice to meet you, Kaylee. Thanks for joining us.
Kaylee, well done.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
Thanks,
Sorry
guys.
about Bull.
So the way you phrase that question, Bull, if someone just landed from Mars,
Right.
and heard you say, so how often did you see Jose Altuve banging garbage cans?
Right.
That could be a real problem.
Like, I was like,
That's true.
I don't think ever.
It's a sexual proclivity of his.
It's crazy that's it's always going to be with him. Did you guys see the meme of Jose Altuve standing on what looked like the Astrodome, and it said Jose Altuve standing on the new bases?
Well,
It could
yes, I
is
did
so
see
funny
that.
because it was he's standing on this massive.
Well, that picture from a few years ago of him standing next to Aaron Judge
Oh,
is
it's
an
one of the greats.
all-time funny picture.
One of the greats. Go ahead, McNuggets.
Yeah,
I think you
just
gotta
want to
leave.
remind everybody that it is the noon hour of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and that means we are sponsored by Colleague Racing. Colleague Racing, not just the sponsor of UCSS, it is also Ohio's official NASCAR team.
How did they do over the weekend? We didn't touch on that yesterday.
How did who do?
How did colleagues guys do over the weekend in
Oh, that's
Arizona?
a great point. I forgot. I'll update you guys at the end of the show.
Let's hold that for the end. Build a little drama. They were in Phoenix over the weekend, and we'll give a colleague racing report update on how they fared over the weekend coming up at the end of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
By the way, there is some baseball news here. I don't know if you guys have seen this yet. According to Front Office Sports, New York Post, Major League Baseball plans to broadcast games of roughly a half dozen teams for free.
Yeah, saw
per
that.
New York Post, as their RSN provider, Diamond Sports, prepares for bankruptcy. The teams reportedly include the Guardians, the Reds, the Diamondbacks, and the Padres.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I talked with a lot of folks in Arizona about how this is going to play out.
Right.
And the number one answer to my question is what the hell is going to happen?
Yeah.
Was we have no idea.
That's scary.
It is terrifying, guys. Now, they're doing a really good job of playing calm, but let's think about this for a second. The local broadcaster for more than half of Major League Baseball is bankrupt.
Yeah.
And there's no real plan in place. We're 2 weeks from the season
MLB's
starting.
going to take over.
They are, but Bull. Well,
Yeah,
in
it's a lot
talking
to
to
take
folks out
over,
there,
yeah.
I saw they went out and hired 3 key executives, which is critical.
Yeah.
You got to build an infrastructure.
Yeah.
This takes months, if not years. You can't do it in weeks. I have no idea how this is going to work, and neither do they. And the overwhelming answer I kept getting after the "we have no idea" is, "We hope to find out soon." Yeah, the season is 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
Let me just read you a couple of quotes from this article
Sure.
from Noah Garden, who's the MLB Chief Revenue Officer. Quote, if any of the RSNs are no longer able to produce local games, we will be in a position to step in to produce and distribute those games with linear and direct-to-consumer options. MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred has previously suggested that MLB could broadcast its games on MLB Network to provide a linear option. But what if these teams are playing at the same time? They have one alternative channel, but
Well, I have no idea how they're going to do it.
You know,
I just don't.
There's going to be, I think there could be a lot of short-term pain here and financial devastation until they figure this
it
out.
could pay off in the long run.
Well, Major
Absolutely.
League Baseball
Yes.
is looking at taking control of all of it.
And that's what I was going to say.
socialism. There you go.
But
I like
baseball has by far the worst television package. I don't count hockey.
Awful.
I don't think about hockey.
Right.
Awful.
But they're so far behind the NBA and the NFL.
you
And part
can't
of it,
stream games
and,
locally.
and part of it's the product on the field.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's networks don't want to pay for it because it's not as popular as the other sports.
Sure.
But ultimately, I think this could be a good thing for baseball.
I hope so.
But it may be a lot of pain in the short term.
What kind of
until
pain?
they get to the just financial. Like how are the Guardians going to meet payroll?
Yeah, so my biggest question is that. So for a team like the Guardians that heavily relies on that television contract, which by the way was overinflated, even by Cleveland standards, just because of where things are with cord cutting and everything else. The one thing, I had a conversation with Curtis about this that I've never understood with baseball. They make their product too hard to consume.
It's insane.
So if you can't watch Cleveland if you lived in Tampa without having the package, but even if you have the package, there were a lot of restrictions and blackouts that you might get 120 games or 130 games. What I don't understand, and McNuggets brought this up a couple of weeks ago, the NBA kind of went to a model like, here's our stuff, Use it, distribute it, do whatever. It's free publicity.
Yeah.
Well, Major League Baseball has to get to a point, and Curtis, one of the things that's coming is you pay $99 a year for MLB's version of the Sunday ticket. It's extra innings or whatever.
But it's way more expensive than that right now.
They're going to have to make it more affordable. Yeah. But here's what you get with that: anything and everything you want. Open it up.
Yeah.
Every game.
Every game.
For every team.
And
no blackouts.
Like
none
no
of that.
blackouts, just like League Pass. No blackouts. The product is available to anybody who wants it anywhere in the world. Why not?
I've never understood.
I haven't either.
If I'm local and I'm buying a package, why are you blacking me out? And I'm obviously.
Well, you know what? I asked Curtis that, and the answer was really interesting. He said it's actually to protect the local carriers.
Right.
They want exclusivity. Well, exclusivity be damned.
Yeah.
Right.
We're in a time of viewing, sports viewing, where eyeballs are money.
Yeah.
And why would you put up barriers to entry to anybody who wants to see your product?
It's weird. I bought the MLB package to watch the Cubs.
Yeah.
Right? And I can get every Cubs game. I don't remember them every except
they're blackouts.
Except when they play the Guardians, I can only watch it on the Guardians channel. I can't watch it. The Cubs broadcast.
Right.
But that's fine for me. I don't care.
Yeah, but there are other restrictions too. On when there's a national window.
Yeah, that right.
You couldn't get anything.
That's true. Yes.
So I just don't understand.
Should be easy. Every game should be available. $99 is reasonable. Right now they charge over $200.
Yeah.
It may not sound, some people the difference between $99 and $225 might not be a big deal. For some people it is.
Well, here's the thing. If
switch
you're
your carrier
a
to
fan,
T-Mobile, you get it for free.
Yes, you're right.
Because I have T-Mobile.
And that's why T-Mobile. And that's why T-Mobile is in that business. By the way,
yes,
there's a lot of people that use T-Mobile as their carrier for that reason.
Yeah,
and that reason alone.
You get the baseball package for free.
You get it for free. Now, there's another thing that we have to think about. When it comes to how these deals are monetized, I think moving forward, it's going to be different. They've been overvalued for the last 10 years because we've known about cord cutting since really the middle, like 13, 14 is when it started to become a real have a real impact on sports. If you're currently paying for a tier of cable just to get the Bally's package, you can now whack that. So if you go from $60 a month to $40 a month or $45 a month, whatever, and you save $15 a month over the course of the year because you have that for the year, that's going to more than pay for the deal, which now is direct. There's no middleman in between. The money now goes from the viewer directly to the club or the league.
The only reason I have DirecTV is for the Guardians, the Cavs, and network channels. That's it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have it.
For the 25 years I've worked in this business, but not in an Ohio market, I carried DirecTV for one reason. I had to see the Cavs, the Indians, and the Browns. And the only way I could do that was through DirecTV.
The NBA got it right. The NBA,
they do.
The NBA on the internet. When you're on the internet and you were looking around, you couldn't find this in years past. You could now, for free. They're not copywriting, striking people that are doing it. The NBA is endorsing this. You can find a replay of every single game, 10 to 12 minutes on the internet. And you can watch the whole game in 15 minutes, and it's free, and you get the gist of what's going on.
And what's important there is it's worldwide.
And baseballs are trying to attract younger fans. Well, you do that by making everything accessible on your phones.
Instead, the deal they cut with YouTube TV was horrible last year. They were putting a certain number of games for every team on YouTube TV, hoping that younger fans would find it. That's not how younger fans are going to find the game.
No.
I read something really interesting a couple of days ago. I think it's Washington State. I hope I'm right on this. Their women's program decided to start a YouTube channel and broadcast their games for free, all of them, on the YouTube channel. And here's the result of it. They just made the women's tournament. Their starting 5 players, none of them are from the United States. They're from Uganda.
What school is this again?
Well, I think it's Washington State.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But what it shows, the true power of this is they were watching in France, China, Uganda. They were watching worldwide because it was available.
Yes.
Oh, what's this? Now they've got fans worldwide, and it's paying off huge when it comes to recruiting.
I know.
Because you can tell your parents they can watch every single one of your games.
Crazy.
And now the parents are saying, well, yeah, I want you to go somewhere where I can watch every single one of your games.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how teams are using
our
that to
buddy
their advantage.
Steve Becker says Scripps and Gray are trying to buy the local rights to put the games on broadcast TV.
I've heard that.
Which would be great.
Which would be 5 and 19 here.
Right.
MLB is looking at putting local games on MLB Network and streaming. And he also has to tell us who Curtis is, Curtis Danberg.
Curtis,
he works for the Guardian. He's an executive with the Guardian. I don't know his exact title.
He's a VP of Communications.
Yeah.
So
great guy. We know him well.
He knows about these details intimately.
Right.
And I was a little surprised that, and I also asked Antonetti about it. I talked to everybody about it. And everybody's like, you know what? We don't know. But we hope to know soon. And I do think that the ultimate long-term play here is all of this coming in-house to the Major League Baseball Network, and eventually they will show all of the games. And what's interesting about that is they'll just have different tiers on their network, where if you're in Cleveland, you'll watch MLB 17 or whatever. I don't know how they're going to, technology-wise, I don't know how they're going to pull this off, but their hope is that Major League Baseball Network will have all of these teams that are being broadcast. Now, obviously, the Yankees and Yes Network and all of these teams that have major, major financial deals in place already, they're not going to want to change those.
No.
Those are, they make a ton of money there. But for the Clevelands, the Cincinnatis, Milwaukee's, Detroit's, even some other bigger market teams, I think Houston might be in there.
Houston has its own AT&T Sports.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they're AT&T now. But that's also, AT&T is out, right? That AT&T group. I think Colorado, Houston.
There's Bally Sports Southwest, which does the Rangers and Mavs and the Rockets.
Right.
The Astros.
But AT&T used to be Roots, right?
I was only in Texas for a few years.
Okay.
I'm not positive.
Well, one way or another, the good news for Guardians fans is you may be able to watch these games without having a cable deal and get them on free TV, which would be huge. And I don't know how Bally's pulls out of this, but Roots filed Chapter 7, or the AT&T, whoever owns that group now. I think there were 4 or 5 teams. They're gone. They're out of business. They're done. And that's kind of terrifying because some of these teams, Cleveland one of them, rely heavily on those payments.
Yeah. By the way, the Guardians just sent 7 guys to the minor leagues, including top prospect Brian Rocchio.
Oh, okay.
And anyway, but one other thing we wanted to talk about in terms of baseball was Trevor Bauer. I mentioned it briefly yesterday.
Yeah, take us there.
Trevor Bauer signed to play in Japan, 1 year, $4 million. I gotta say, at the time he was cut, I thought somebody,
I did too.
This tells you how much Trevor Bauer is disliked, because we saw Deshaun Watson, we've seen other players be in trouble with the law, and eventually they're all brought back into the fold. They're all given an opportunity. Trevor Bauer, between what he's accused of, now he was found, his case was thrown out of court.
No, it never went to court.
Or never went to court.
They never brought it to charges.
Right.
Which is exactly like Deshaun Watson.
Right, and so, listen, it's just accusations. We don't know exactly what happened.
Right.
He's so disliked, though, that nobody even wanted to bring him in. And it obviously wouldn't have cost a lot of money because he's only getting paid $4 million guaranteed in Japan.
I have a question for Jason. I don't know if you have the answer to this. This doesn't preclude him from pitching in Major League Baseball this year.
I wondered that. I'm assuming there's an out clause.
I don't think so.
I don't think it's exclusive. I think it's exclusive to the Japanese league.
Right.
He can't move within the Japanese league.
But I wonder if there's an out clause if an MLB team comes calling.
I'm almost certain that all of them
be.
include that. Now, maybe there's language in this that says we're going to roll the dice and we're going to invest in you, but we want the full year commitment.
Yeah, right.
I don't know that.
He was smart to go there in the end because he's got to pitch. He hasn't pitched in 2 years.
My first thought was, why did he do this last year?
Yeah, no, he could have.
He could have done this. He could have been doing this for.
That's true.
Unless they had come out and said we don't want you either.
No, I don't think that.
Everybody thinks you haven't fallen that far to that phone don't.
That's true.
No, that's true. Yeah.
But during the lockout, J.R. Smith went to China and played during the NBA lockout years and years ago. Like, we've seen guys go overseas when playing here wasn't an option.
Yeah.
And playing here clearly was not an option for him.
Maybe the Japanese league has a rule that if a player's suspended.
No. I don't. No? And not to my knowledge. No. I mean, I shouldn't say that definitively, but not to my knowledge.
I don't know. I'm just
nothing that would preclude him from going there, because then he doesn't miss this much time, and maybe a team does show interest.
I think the amount of time rehabilitate.
I think the amount of time he has missed probably has played a little bit of a role in this, although you'd think a team would at least bring him to camp and see what kind of shape his arm is in.
If he's pitching well and
somebody will bring him at the
deadline.
But if he doesn't pitch well in Japan, he's done.
It's over.
No, it's over if he doesn't do well in Japan, because it's one thing to take a risk on a character guy like that if he's Cy Young caliber.
Right.
And when we last saw him, he was. But if he's no longer, nobody's going to want to take that PR hit and bring a guy like that into your clubhouse, no matter how good he pitches.
I think that's the story. I think he'll pitch well, and I think there'll be one team who will be at the trade deadline like, listen, we can't get an arm. Can we get him for cheaper than we're giving up all our prospects?
Yeah, because you could probably get him for like no money.
Right.
Well, it looks like it. If he went to Japan for $4 million,
I mean, there's incentives there, but it's only $4 million guaranteed.
Yeah. And you guys have already said you don't want him in the Guardians.
No, they just don't want him. They don't want him.
Yeah. They don't get along anyway.
He's lucky that Tito didn't strangle him on the mound after he threw the ball over the wall in Kansas City.
He's just not liked around the game.
That's the most.
What was the reaction to that? So I was obviously
listening to it on the radio. I remember I was on my boat and
oh, big boat flex.
No, but this was great because I wasn't even paying attention to the game. But all of a sudden, I heard Hammy go, "He just threw the baseball over the fence," and I thought, wait, what
an idiot.
Bro, I could not believe that's the most disrespectful thing you could probably do as a player to your coach besides give him the Rudy Tomjanovich or Latrell Sprewell.
Well, that's
the
most I've seen Francona go at a guy publicly in his entire time.
He doesn't do
never. That's how much he hated Bauer.
Yeah.
Because he never says anything bad.
I remember telling my wife, she goes, "What just happened?"
Yeah.
And I go, "Trevor Bauer just threw his last pitch for the Indians."
Yeah.
And she said, "Why?" And I go, "If Hammy's right, and I have no reason to doubt him, he threw the ball over the fence. Like, that's career-ending."
Hey, they come up to JJ.
I went off on him on the air.
You did your thing. Yeah. Jay turns around and chucks it over.
First of all, it's impressive.
Well, he threw it. It is impressive.
He could have hurt somebody. He could have hurt somebody.
I'm not trying to defend him. I think he threw it into the fountain.
But wait a second, Jason. Yes, that's what people have said as an excuse. But he was so out of control. He didn't know that. He just got lucky that it.
No, the fountain's a pretty big target.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and there's nobody even near the fountain.
These guys have unbelievable control. I think he knew exactly.
First of all, that guy's arm is crazy.
But it's funny because I happened to be in the clubhouse the night the trade went down. It was post game, and as we were walking the clubhouse, somebody, I forget now who said, like, "Hey, something's up." Like, something's up.
Like they were moving him.
Like something was going on. It was right around the trade deadline. We didn't know what was going on. And I asked a different player. So Bauer and Clevenger were sitting together over in a side, and it was in a spot.
In a pod.
It was in a spot where they don't normally sit. And I went over to another player and I said, "Do you think it's odd that they're over there talking like that?" And the response was, "Well, that's the only guy left in the clubhouse who likes him." And I'm like, "No, that's not what I meant. I think he just got traded." He goes, "Oh, well, let me go find out." He goes, "Yeah, he did just get traded." But the initial response was, "Well, no one else in this clubhouse likes him except Clev."
How could Clev be so tone deaf to still associate himself with that train wreck?
Because he's a
train wreck too.
Train wreck himself.
I guess they find that,
I almost said something much worse.
Misery loves company.
Yeah, they were tight.
Yeah, I'm sure that Tito got back into the dugout and he got word immediately to Antonetti.
Get him out.
I don't want him in a uniform tomorrow.
I mean, did they got a phone line that quick? So the dugout goes.
He's got a way of getting word
got
to
the bullpen phone.
He's got a way of getting word to him.
But he was in trade rumors even before.
Yeah, that cooked his goose.
But I think that sealed it.
So, and to your point, Bull. When you ask around, not just the clubhouses that he's been a part of, just baseball in general. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's arrogant and unorthodox. And anytime you have that pairing in whatever profession, we can name guys in our profession that are arrogant and unorthodox. They are not popular.
No.
They are bucking the system.
Right.
They think they're better than everyone else.
Right.
And in Bauer's
and he's
case,
a dick to people. He attacked people on Twitter. He was a real jerk to people.
He has character flaws for
Yes.
sure. We'll see what happens with him in Japan. But the reason I brought that question up is because with my knowledge, and it's limited, and I have to say I'm a novice on this. I don't know. But I don't think anything happened yesterday that would preclude him from throwing a game in Major League Baseball on April 6th.
I guess not.
No,
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't
By the way,
either.
is anybody watching the World Baseball Classic at all?
I'm peeked in a time or two, and I was at one of the games.
Watched much, and I love baseball, but
I
there was a
watched it
perfect game pitched by, I think it was a combined perfect
Puerto Rico.
game.
Wow.
By Puerto Rico against Israel yesterday.
Yeah, disappointing ball. I purposely didn't put that on the rundown to support us, but unfortunately.
Yeah.
What do you mean us?
Team Israel, because we're both Jews.
Yeah, we do want to let you guys know that during the
Team
12
Israel
o'clock
got
hour,
blanked.
The Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show is brought to us by Call It Racing. Call It Racing, your official Northeast Ohio NASCAR team. We'll do a racing report at the end of the show, but I got a free agency question.
1 second, real quick, by the way. Just one last comment on the world. Did you see the slide in that game by Javi Baez? Anybody see this?
Yeah, it was sick.
Wait,
it was sick.
did you see the slide reel that's going around on Instagram of Javi Baez?
What do you mean?
It's a whole bunch of his
great
slides all time.
He is the best slider in baseball
He's taken
I've
it
ever
to
seen.
another level. Roberto Alomar used to be that guy.
Go look at the slide he had. He was stealing
to avoid
third.
a tag, right?
Tag at third base.
Yeah.
It shouldn't even have been close. He should have been out by a mile. And he had to, like, as he's sliding, move both hands this way.
Yes.
And he slid in the
So
tag. It was
there's
amazing.
a great reel. I think it's on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's one of the baseball accounts I follow. It's all of his great slides.
Yeah.
He is the sliding ninja.
Yeah.
He's a matrix. He does things. I was always so impressed when Robbie Alomar used to go head first and pull that left arm back.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever seen anything at that point that impressed me more on a baseball field. Because for anybody that slid head first, you know how fast that happens.
It's so hard.
And when you slow it down, it looks easy, but it's not.
No.
And he did it. When he did it for the first time, I had to watch it 8 times before. I'm like, that's the most impressive thing I've ever seen.
In those days, though, because if the ball beats you, they would
You're
often
out.
just call you out.
Yeah.
Now, with the replay,
yeah.
he gets away with that
Yeah,
because he's safe.
He's the Matrix.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable.
By the way, I was in the rabbit hole, and they talked about different feats that will never be broken in baseball. And Ricky Henderson is so far out the realm of possibility. The way he was stealing them bases was crazy. Listen, he has like more stolen bases than like the next 4 or 5 guys combined, ever. It's crazy.
Yeah, and stolen bases have gone away.
Wait. No, that's
that
not
can't
true.
be right.
Yeah, that's not true.
Well, listen, in terms of a season, like the most stolen bases in a season.
No, Vince Coleman had
Coleman at 100.
No, he's right in today's game.
Yes,
So
yes,
you
sure.
could take the top 4 stolen
I see.
guys
Yes,
last season.
Now, yes.
Yeah, that's what you meant to say.
Yeah.
And they won't add up to. Ricky would steal 120 bags a year.
Crazy.
Well, by the way, the guys who led Major League Baseball in strikeouts as hitters, I think it was Kyle Schwarber and whoever it was, had more struck out more last year than Tony Gwynn did for an entire decade.
Wow.
That's nuts.
That's devastating. That's crazy.
Hey, Mike, I just sent you this slide because I thought, whenever we talk about something that we say is incredible,
Oh, is that
and
the
then we
one
don't
from
show
yesterday?
It drives
Was
us
that
nuts.
nuts?
Yeah. So here's the slide, and I sent it to you so you can throw it in tag board. It's just one of those.
ridiculous.
It's one of those things that you have to see it 10 times to make sure that that's what you saw.
Yeah.
But
I know.
it's
And
really
to your
good.
point, while he pulls that up, to your point, I don't think anyone will ever challenge a stolen base record because guys just don't run anymore. Now, maybe
Well,
with
but
the
I think
rules
that's
change,
going up now.
Maybe with the rules change,
Yes.
it comes back a little bit, but I don't think it'll ever go back.
No,
because
I
again,
don't think we'll ever have 100 stolen base
this
guys,
game
but-
has become all sports have become more of a business game than ever before, and guys don't get paid for stolen bases. So
And the
therefore
risk of
they're-
injury
and the risk of
is
injury.
just too
And
great.
it wears you out. It
I
just
love
wears
the
you down
stolen
and
base.
wears you out.
It was creeping me out because he was still in third. I said, who steals third?
When he would walk, you'd be like, there's a triple.
Yeah, right.
So here it is. I wish we could make it.
Oh,
wow.
No,
That's not even the impressive angle.
Yeah.
It shows it again, don't
Yeah,
worry.
this
Hold
angle
on.
coming up is the really impressive angle.
Hold on.
Also, those Team Israel hats are fireable.
Yeah,
Man,
they are.
gotta
Yeah,
get
you
those.
guys both need to rock those.
But when you dap the third base coach up like
Here it is.
that,
Watch this.
you done did some stuff.
Out by a mile, nope. And then he moves his body too. Not only did he move his hand, he had to move his hips.
Wow.
I mean, like, how did he not slide into that tag?
That third baseman's like, where'd he go?
He's like, how did that happen?
No, you know what he's saying? He's like, this is how you guys play ball in the States?
Look at that.
No, most of the
that.
Israel players are American.
That's just incredible.
And that is.
Oh, I didn't know this was a rule. We were talking about it with Curtis.
Yeah.
And maybe Antonetti. A bunch of the guys were saying that. Do you know that if you're married to a woman that's from a country that has a WBC team, you can play for that team?
I didn't know that.
Well,
If
some
you
of
were
these rosters
raised-
they needed to fill out.
I know. If you were
mean-
raised by grandparents
Yeah.
who were from that country, you can play for that team.
My kid is definitely playing for the Philippines. Come on.
They don't,
Like,
I
that's
don't think
easy
they have a
money.
team.
They will in 20 years.
Yeah, in 20 years.
So the Guardians played Team Mexico.
Yeah.
I think it was Wednesday of last week, and I went to
Right.
the game. And by the way, they weren't abiding by the shift rules and the pitch clock.
Right, yeah.
And it was incredible to me how much slower that game seemed than the one that I had watched just the day before.
Right.
It was like, this thing's stuck in concrete.
Yeah.
And the Guardians pitchers were still working quickly, and some of the Mexico.
I mean, they have a lot of them.
They do, but they just weren't working as quickly as the Guardians were, and they were stepping out of the box. And the shift, Mexico used the shift, and the Guardians did not. But it was just incredible how much better the game seemed stacked back to back.
Yeah.
And there were guys on the Mexico had a Thomas was on the team, and I'm like, hey, he's Mexican?
Yeah.
He's not Mexican. Oh, his wife is.
Yeah.
Right. That's funny.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I mean, most of the Israel team are American Jews.
Yeah. Israel's not playing baseball over there, are they?
It's growing there.
It is?
It is starting to grow.
Interesting.
And there's a couple of Israeli players on the team, but not most of them are Americans.
Did you see the clip from, I think I saw it on Twitter or Instagram, there was a Czech Republic electrician that struck out Ohtani.
Really?
He's an electrician. That's his gig.
Yeah.
But he's dabbling in baseball, and he's good enough to make the Czech Republic team.
I know.
He's got electric stuff.
And he's that was great.
That's a quality dad
And
joke.
if you
right
want
there.
That was a quality
content
dad
like
joke.
that from Jason Lloyd, you get that on UCSS Overtime, which comes every day after the show for $1.99 a month. You
Y'all
become a
set that
member
up.
of the show. That gets
Y'all was
loyalty
talking
badges,
before the show.
customs emojis, member-only community posts for $4.99 a month. You get that overtime video where Jason just unhinges after he pees. He pees before every overtime. Then
Not
he unhinges.
everyone, but I will today.
He will today. That is the coaches tier, less than $5 a month, less than $60 a year. It gets the overtime videos, member shout-outs, discount code to merch. You can text with Jason when he's not in the bathroom for select Cavs games, and
If
much
I can
more.
find
And
my
also,
phone.
the free option, just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 25,000 subscribers by our 1-year anniversary on May 9th. If you could help us out, that is much appreciated. But let's talk a little football, guys. Let's get back to this.
Hour and 37
By the way,
minutes
Donovan
without
Mitchell
my phone.
out for tonight.
Donovan out for tonight?
Out for tonight, yes.
Okay.
Darius Garland, you better do something.
Yeah.
Hour and 37 minutes
Two
without
football
my
things
phone.
we got to talk about.
I'm dying
though.
Yeah.
over here.
First, Jacoby Myers, first free agent wide receiver off the board this morning. $33 million, $21 million guaranteed to the Vegas Raiders. That is now the tone setter for the free agency wide receiver market.
Right.
Do you think that helps or hurts the Browns in their pursuit of a veteran receiver in free agency?
Love it. I love it.
I don't want any of the free
Yeah,
agents.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
Maybe Paris Campbell if you can get him at a decent number. I mean, I normally don't have that Ohio State bias of guys that just because they went there, I want him on the team. But he is a speed guy. I do think there's something there. He's had a lot of
Jacoby would
injuries.
get more than that. I mean, he was pretty good last year.
There's no free
There ain't
agent
no
receivers
market.
that I look at and go, okay,
No.
that's the guy you got to go
There's
get.
no guy
No
who's
market.
a sure thing at that position in free agency.
That's why I just think their first pick in the draft is going to be a receiver.
I don't know. I still
Well, it
want
could
to get
be now. I
Brandon
wanted
Cooks.
them to go defensive tackle before, but now maybe they've shored up that part of the defensive line to the point where you could be right. And maybe that's why they decided you can come at this from 3 different angles: trade, free agency, draft.
Yeah.
Maybe they powwowed and said it's best that we fill our needs on the defensive line through the draft or through the free agency because there's proven stars that are there that we can go get. Let's roll the dice on wide receiver in the draft, and maybe you try to get a safety or maybe another linebacker.
And defensive tackles just take longer to develop.
They do, which is why the draft isn't the right way to go, perhaps, for that position.
Yeah.
Particularly when you look at how poorly they've done with guys that they've drafted recently. But you know what? They haven't done well with wide receivers either.
No, they haven't.
I mean, I know Peoples-Jones was a hit.
Was the 6th.
Late.
Yeah.
But your 2 threes in Bell and Schwartz, right now, if I had to put them into a camp, they're in the bust camp.
Yeah.
Well,
And
Schwartz is
Schwartz
100%.
more in the bust
Bell,
camp.
I'm giving another year.
Bell
I'm not
needs
gonna
more time.
call Bell a bust. But again,
Schwartz is. I mean, he should be cut.
if you're looking at second-round receivers versus third-round receivers, I think there's a pretty significant difference between the two. George Pickens was a second-round receiver.
Yeah.
David Bell was a third-round receiver.
I'm looking for. I think it's coming with a trade. The receivers coming in a trade to me, because I look at the wide receiver. If they get a minimal free agent, that guy could be a 4th, almost a 3rd type guy. Great. But I think the trade is coming for a bona fide receiver that they could really build around and help.
Who do you want?
Listen, I'll take
Brandon Cooks?
I'll take Cooks. I still will take DeAndre Hopkins if it come down to it. I'm not opposed to that.
Hunter Renfrow?
Hunter Renfrow I like. I like Paris Campbell. I even like McCole Hardman. I'll take him too because at least he.
Well, those guys are free agents.
So,
Campbell and Hardman.
but given the fact that you might, if they're giving this amount of money out, this little change right here, you can get Hardman and McCole Hardman and Renfro for what? I mean,
$10 million combined.
Yeah, like you get
hope.
that.
I like Hardman more than Renfro. I think the only thing that makes me nervous is because he didn't put up huge numbers with Kansas City. But, like, he feels like he's got upside. I feel like Renfro just kind of is what he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Renfro is one of them dudes. I've always been trying to get me a Wes Welker. I need me one of those guys.
Every white receiver is compared to Wes Welker.
I need him and Cole Beasley.
Just go back to Brian Brennan.
Yeah, like
people in Cleveland remember Brian Brennan.
Listen. By the way, if he come to Cleveland, people will be telling you Hunter Renfro is the best receiver they got.
Because they remember Brian Brennan.
I tell you, G. Bush, he's the best receiver. He's always open. No, he's really not always open. I like he catch the ball on third down, but I think that trade is coming.
All right. Well, I hope so. I hope something's coming that way.
By the way,
real quick, we got some breaking news here. You see the Lamar Jackson tweets?
I was just going to read that.
You could read it. I'll get it in tag board here.
All right. So so apparently Adam Schefter said that somebody's saying that Schefter said that Lamar turned down $200 million guaranteed. I don't know that Schefter said it, but somebody's tweeted that Schefter said that. I don't know.
I haven't seen Schefter say that.
Yeah, but not necessarily today, that he might have said it on TV.
Oh.
Anyway, so somebody tweeted that out, and then Lamar Jackson tweeted this.
We'll get it.
That's it.
That's
And then Lamar Jackson said, 133 for 3 years fully guaranteed, but I need an agent.
Interesting.
What does that mean?
Well, that means that was what he was offered.
No, who got 100? Who got 133 guaranteed?
No, that's must be what he was offered.
I thought somebody else got that, and he was saying, "So I need an agent." This guy got that.
I think he's saying that was what he was offered.
I agree with Jay. I think that he said it weird, but I think that's what he was saying.
I think that's what he's saying. Which, by the way, if you do that on a per year, is $45 million.
Right, but yes, but if you're Lamar, like I can understand him not wanting to sign a 3-year deal.
They only offer him 3.
Yeah. Although, if it's all guaranteed, he'd probably make a lot of money after that if he plays well.
You know what? I think that might be the ballpark that he's looking in. Yesterday, Brad was asked this question, Jason. I'll pose it to you. Okay? Isn't that how you read that? 133, 3 years fully guaranteed, but I need an agent? That to me sounds like news is coming soon that he signed with the Ravens for $133 million over 3 years.
Oh, you see, I thought he was saying that's what he turned down.
No, I think
he's saying this is all they offer me. I don't need an agent. This is so laughable.
I'm with Bull. I think he was offered 133 for 3, turned it down, but saying, "Look, I could do this on my own. That's what they already offered me. I want more."
I don't know how to read that.
I don't know how to read it because I kind of lean toward Jay.
Yeah, to me it sounds like he's boasting, saying, "For all you fools that said I need an agent, but I'm sitting on an offer right now for 3 years, $45 million a year, guaranteed."
If there's two ways to look at it. If he doesn't like that offer and he's putting that out there, that's not going to make the Ravens very happy.
No, that's going to infuriate the
Ravens. That he's negotiating publicly.
Yeah, and that's why you do need an agent.
If that's what they've agreed to. Now, the Yankees did that with Aaron Judge. They leaked what the number was, and it worked out. He still got him back. But I would say that's almost the anomaly. Once you start negotiating publicly, it rarely ends well.
I don't think
it worked out with Judge and the Yankees because he wanted to stay there.
Yeah.
I don't know that Lamar wants to stay there.
I've said it before on the show. I think Lamar's played his last snap for Baltimore. Jason
drugged me along. I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna get in the car with you, bro." Because
let's hope
it's
so.
Looking bad.
I would love to see him leave the division.
Right now.
If he leaves the division, I think Cleveland comes in next season as a clear-cut number 2 in the division.
We need. Listen,
is that hyperbole?
No, I don't think so.
I need
again until I see Deshaun Watson play well. I don't know that I can definitively say that.
But I mean,
I would, yes. If you told me Lamar's not on the Ravens and I had to pick standings today, I would pick the Browns.
I'd pick the Browns second.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, look, man, I'm not above wishing bad things on other teams. It is what it is.
As long as it's not injury.
Look, what you mean? Tendonitis?
Come on, bro. You felt the pain of that ACL.
I don't want the ACL. I just want tendonitis. I just want the hammy.
The hammy come off the bone.
No, not her come off the bone. It's a half. It's a half honey baked ham.
All right. I always bet. I've caught myself saying that I'm thinking I wish that player would get hurt. I was like, no, man.
I don't wish no concussions or ACLs or Achilles heels. I'd have had those or neck and spinal cord injuries. But there's a couple of things that are elbow bursitis. That's definitely on the table. If you got to
get your wrist going in the wrong direction, that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
A strained pec muscles. You don't do nothing up in here in anyway. You need to listen. I'm all for that. I'm all for that smoke.
Another tweet from Lamar. People throw with a poop emoji at the wall and hope it stick.
So I guess I still don't know whether
I don't know.
Can somebody tweet at him?
I think he's saying I was never offered over $200 million guaranteed.
Yeah, so that's a reference to Schefter.
And he's not. I think he's saying he was offered 130 guaranteed. He thinks that's a joke. Whether he doesn't need an agent to know that's a joke.
I can see why the Ravens would want to do that deal, and here's why. The question mark with Lamar is long-term sustainability.
Right.
And
his next 3 years may be his last good 3 years.
It more than likely, with a player that relies on the skill set that he has, that starts to go away really quickly at 30.
Would you do this deal? I tell you, Lamar, if they give you 3 years, 150, roll out. Take it and roll out, bro.
First of all, what's the difference?
Three 150. Because 3 for 150 means he's getting $50 million a year, which could put him.
But 3 at 133 is $45 million a year. Here's my question to these guys: at what point does that extra $5 million a year buy anything for you?
It's not. It's not the $5 million a year. I think that money per year is probably what he'd be comfortable with. I think he wants a 5-6 year deal.
Okay, then if that's the case,
I wouldn't give him
that's the case,
personally, but
I wouldn't either.
I don't blame him for wanting it.
I wouldn't either. But if that's the case, say, okay, I'll take 4 for 150, and now you get that extra guaranteed year. You're getting a little bit more in the total package deal because it's all going to be guaranteed. But he's caught up in the 230 that the Browns gave Watson,
and even the Kyler Murray deal.
The Kyler Murray, but a lot of that wasn't guaranteed. He had 160 guaranteed.
That's still more than Lamar's getting. And Lamar's better than Kyler Murray.
It's comparable. If you could come out of there saying, okay, I got 3 years. I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to do the LeBron thing. I got 3 years.
Yeah.
If he plays well and they go far in those 3 years, or at least 2 out of 3 years, he's going to be able to come back up again and then get like $60 million.
Will he, though, at 30?
If he plays well, he's like.
I don't even think he's that old.
No, he's 26
now. So he can hit the market again at 29 and be up again. And that's the Darrelle Revis. Darrelle Revis got 3 big-time contracts, right? No one makes it to a 3rd contract, especially if it's multiple years. I would aim for the 3 at 50, and then I want to come back, and I want 2 at 60 after this.
Lamar just turned 26 a few weeks ago.
Oh, he young.
So, when his next contract's up,
he'd play at 26, 27, and 28.
Yeah, so arguing, if you're going to bet on yourself and go 3, now you're 29.
You're going into your age 29 season.
And you've got to stay healthy.
You got to be healthy.
But they could, in theory, franchise him again at that point.
Listen, if they offered you, don't look at it Deshaun Watson, right? He's looking at it, listen, if I was your agent, take that money right now. Actually, like Jay said, it might be the fact that you feeling like you slighted because you feel like you're better than these other people, and I get it, right? I understand. But listen, man, what you gonna do? 50? Like if you get 150, you ain't gotta buy. You ain't worry about nothing. That's generational. How much more can you buy with that?
Multi-generational.
Yeah. How much more you like? How much more shoes or purses or houses can you buy with that?
At the end of the day, there's very little that you can't buy with $45 million a year that you can buy with $50 million a year. And the other thing too is, we saw what Tom Brady did over the length of his career when he was never the highest paid player on his team. Mm-hmm. What that allowed his teams to do was bring in more talent around him. And I think that's what Joe Burrow is going to do in Cincinnati. I think Joe Burrow is a smart guy, and he's in this for the long play.
But the Bengals is hedging their back. They ain't going to do no workman's comp, though.
Yeah, no. That's a whole
y'all
other
ain't getting
issue.
none of that off because Joe might want $600. Yeah. And we going to give him every penny that $6.
I don't know. I sometimes think that, it does suck.
Yeah.
That, especially if the market for what would really kill me is the Kyler Murray deal.
Yeah.
Right.
Come on, you have to at least give me. But you know what? Arizona and the Browns just threw off the pay scale so badly
the more I think about it, I think you're right. He's not taking 3 for 133 because all the talk at the combine was there is no negotiating going on. He's not coming off the number that was thrown around in Indianapolis was 5 for 250, and he's not coming off that, fully guaranteed. And there's not even a negotiation. So, and I think I mentioned that on the show.
I never heard that number, Jason.
Oh, that's what was going around in Indianapolis. Was
5 for 250.
5 for 250.
I mean, you hamstring your club.
And he's not.
Good luck wherever he gets that deal. You hamstring your club.
But are the Browns hamstrung by Watson's contract?
Well, the Browns would have been. They restructured, and what was his number supposed to be before the restructuring this year?
55.
I know.
Okay, so his fixed number would be 50 per.
I know, but they could do the same gymnastics that other teams
add voidable years onto the end. The same thing the Browns are doing now.
The Chiefs are not screwed. Patrick Mahomes is making that kind of money. I think that's. I don't think you have to take less money. Tom Brady was still the highest paid Patriot.
I don't know that he ever was.
So, Bull,
at one point,
I think it was that he was never the highest paid quarterback. I think that's what it was.
I don't know who else would have been paid higher than him in New England.
Yeah, I mean, quarterbacks get paid the most.
Yeah, he definitely was never the highest paid quarterback.
I think the stat that always went around was that he was never the highest paid quarterback.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
I mean, could you give? I'm trying to think of it. Like, you go back a couple years? Could I give Michael Vick 5 for 250?
He's way better than Michael Vick.
But what I'm saying is the running aspect.
It's hard to sustain that 5 years from now.
Doing that.
I mean, let's face it. The style of football he plays, he's one hit away from never being the same guy again. Ask RG3.
RG3.
Yeah.
And I just don't know that you're betting on a dragster instead of a Grand Prix style.
I hear you,
car.
but he's not. A lot of quarterbacks run. Josh Allen runs a ton too.
Josh Allen's built differently.
He's a tank.
He's a big, strong guy. He hits most tacklers.
I changed the way I looked at these quarterbacks and injuries when Andrew Luck woke up one day and said, "I can't do it no more." And Andrew Luck was built like a thoroughbred. He's 6'5", 240.
He's a big dude.
Huge dude. He said, my body hurt. I can't do it no more. When Megatron retired, Megatron would talk about what he had to do just to be able to get back
Barry
out
Sanders
to play.
retired young.
They said, I can't do it no more. Somebody said, you got any snap stuff in you? No, I don't touch me. I don't want nobody touching me. I'm suing you. I'm suing you. Don't push me. Don't look at me too hard. That stuff is hard on your body, man. It's rough, man.
And that style is, it's really, really tough to sustain. And we've seen that play itself out over the last couple of years.
5 for 250.
He's missed more games the last couple of years than he did early in his career. I don't know, man. It's a risky play. I understand that he feels that he's worth more, but if the market says he's not, he's not.
Well, it's not really an open market.
Well, it could be. If someone was willing to pay it, it would be.
That's actually where a good agent can sit a guy down and have an honest conversation about reality of where things are. Now, maybe player doesn't want to listen to him.
Right.
But a good agent won't just be a mouthpiece and tell you what you want to hear.
Right. He's going to tell you, look, here's what the market is.
He's going to tell you,
Trevor Bauer's agent sat him down and said, the well's dry here.
Yeah.
You've got one play, Japan.
Yeah.
And maybe Trevor without an agent never comes to that. I don't know. It's very difficult. I feel badly for Lamar. I do. As a Browns fan, I hope he works his way out of the division and ends up somewhere else next year.
I'm fascinated to see how this ends.
It's the drama of the offseason, isn't it?
And Aaron Rodgers? Have we ever had a story like this in the NFL with Lamar and the Ravens? I don't recall one.
You mean this contentious situation?
This contentious at this position.
Well,
with
that
this amount of money,
with the public tweeting too, to your point, if their offer was 3 for 133, the Ravens now are going to walk away from this. I don't think they want him in their organization if he's going to go that route.
Well, you still have to be a smart businessman, and if he does get an offer from another team that you are willing to match, you still match it. I think. I don't know. I just feel it feels like this. When I left Indianapolis, it felt like this has turned very, very personal in Baltimore, and I don't think he plays another snap there. I don't know how it ends.
I think the Ravens are a 5-6 win team next year without him.
What you got, McNuggets?
We will see. I got the race report for Colleague Racing, by the way.
Okay.
Shout out to Earl for coming up with this. In Phoenix, A.J. Allmendinger started 22nd. He finished 20th, so he did move up the rankings a bit. Justin Haley started 26th. He finished 27th. Neither led a lap, and William Byron won the race at the end of the day. So a solid showing from Colleague Racing and our guys, but
what's next for the crew? Do we know where they go from Phoenix?
A circular track.
It is for sure a circular track?
No, but they're going to hit the gas pedal, and they're going to turn left and right, and they're going to drive around.
It could be a road-style course,
It
right,
could be
Earl?
anywhere, but they're going to drive. I don't know on that. But I do got one more question before Earl knows. Hold on.
They're going to drive.
Atlanta next Sunday,
So
3 p.m.
That's a super speedway, right?
Atlanta, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
big
circular
one.
track. Don't doubt my NASCAR knowledge, Jay. One last question for you guys here.
NASCAR knowledge is deep.
On the Browns free agency here. It is day 2. We talked about some receivers. We all talked about defensive tackles, how they want to shore up that line. Safety, though, with Jesse Bates gone, got $16 million. We all agreed probably a little too pricey. How would you feel about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson being still in play for the Browns on day 2 here?
He's going to make $12 million. The Browns can't spend double-digit millions on a safety. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't see how they do it.
And by the way, if I'm going to spend $12 million on Chauncey, whatever the hell his name is, I'll go spend $16 million on Jesse Bates, who's one of the best safeties in the league. So
if I'm going to pay him 12, I'll just keep John Johnson for 12.
I mean, the Browns need to shop in the bargain bin for safety.
No. The Browns need to use somebody they already got at safety.
Or whatever.
Or draft one.
I'm not spending $12 million.
You knew we was bad when your safeties, Delpit and John Johnson, were your leading tacklers by far. That just told you how garbage.
Everybody got into that last level.
How the free safety and the strong safety? Come on, no. Yeah, we're gonna get a guy back. D'Anthony Bell can play back there. Whatever they're gonna do back there. But I'm looking for a linebacker to come off the board here. I want to see a linebacker or another defensive tackle. And then we work back away to receiver.
Are you guys surprised at the lack of news today? This is worse than yesterday.
See these. There's a couple dominoes that have to fall. You got to get the quarterback market ready to go.
Well, it got busy yesterday afternoon and last night.
No, it did. But I'm talking about.
But today again, it's been quiet.
There's one guy we have missed. We didn't talk about Eric Kendricks going to the Chargers for $4 million. That was a guy who, when he was released by the
I would have
Vikings,
liked that.
I
thought would be a good fit. And for $4 million,
how much he get?
$4 million.
These rest of these guys ain't getting no money. Like, this is like a baseball all season. Sometimes in baseball, people be paying all kind of money, and I don't know why. But then sometimes they're like, no one's getting money this year.
We've talked on this show before, and I've talked to GMs about this. I know you have, Jay, where a lot of the mentality is you win in the NFL 3 ways. You have to have a quarterback, you have to have someone that gets after quarterbacks, and you have to have someone that protects quarterbacks. It's a quarterback-centric league. It just makes sense. A lot of the movement that we saw yesterday were guys that get after quarterbacks and guys that protect quarterbacks. And that's how teams – and it's funny because I think it's easier to have success when you make moves via trade than when you draft, because the draft is such a mystery.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing teams starting to address their real hardcore needs in free agency instead of the draft, because it's instant help.
Although the truth is a ton of free agent signings end up being bad moves for the teams.
Well, that may be the case, but what I'm saying is, like, if you look at the moves that were made yesterday.
Yeah, a lot of DNs.
A lot of defensive ends.
And tackles.
And tackles.
Yeah. By the way, quick basketball note. According to Shams Charania, the NBA is considering a change where you would have to play a minimum amount of a certain amount of games to qualify for an award.
I told you they should have been doing.
That could end this guy sitting random games.
I told you, and they should extend that to first team, second team, and
What
all
would that
team,
number
third
be?
team, all
I
NBA
didn't
too.
say.
No, I know, but let's pick one in our head, because I've got 70 but that would still allow guys to sit
I was thinking
12
75,
games.
but that's
That's a lot.
No one plays 75.
Nobody does that anymore.
I want you to play 85% of your games.
Yeah, which would probably be 70.
I think
It's going to be a little lower than 70.
I would say 65
Why?
to 70.
65.
They're trying to fix a problem here.
Well, 65 won't solve the problem.
But you have
with
to
guys.
take into account injuries too, like guys
That's-
that typically get hurt.
Hey, you got hurt. You played
it,
no
you out.
games.
But if you miss 2 weeks, right there's 1, 2, 3, 6 games. If you have
7 games.
Yeah, if you have a hamstring or
Suck
an
it
ankle,
up. The guys used to play 82 games.
Well, then guess what? You
Bunch of
better
wimps.
not have no maintenance days. Then you ain't got no maintenance days.
Yeah.
And I want the minutes restricted. A game doesn't count that you go in and get a layup. The game is you need to be playing average of 25 minutes.
That's the other thing. That's the way guys get contract bonuses at the end or whatever. You sub out right away. I've seen that before. Tristan Thompson did that to keep a consecutive game streak going. You go out on the court and then you foul right away, and there's your game.
We're not doing that. You got to play 25
So now
minutes.
you got to put in
minutes.
minutes.
Yeah, so 20
minutes on the games.
20 minutes played constitutes a game played. If you went for 85% of the games, you'd have to play 70 games.
Right. Mike,
and
what are we doing in overtime?
We're going to do some more viewer questions we didn't get to yesterday.
Hey,
After I pee.
And find your